What if the life you are so desperately chasing is also, in its own way, searching for you? What if the relentless effort, the constant striving, is not the bridge connecting you to it, but the very wall that keeps you apart? Feel, for a moment, the rhythm of that chase. The hurried breath, the strain in your muscles, the forward lean of a body that has forgotten how to stand still. You have been running for so long, running toward a horizon called success, a mirage named happiness, a phantom of yourself, always just a few steps ahead, always better, always more complete. You chase promotions, you chase validation, you chase the quiet approval in another's eyes, believing that when you finally grasp it, you will be allowed to rest. But the finish line is a ghost. Each goal you conquer reveals not a peaceful plateau, but the base of another, steeper mountain. The emptiness you sought to fill by running has only grown wider, a hollow echo in the chamber of your own achievements. You have done everything you were told to do. You have been responsible, ambitious, relentless. And yet, there is a profound, unshakable exhaustion, a weariness not of the body, but of the soul. A quiet suspicion that the map you have been following leads nowhere you truly want to go. So now, just for this moment, stop. Simply stop. Let the world run past you. Feel the ground beneath your feet, solid, patient, unmoving. Take a breath, not to fuel the next sprint, but to simply fill your lungs. Allow your shoulders to fall. Lower the weapons you did not know you were carrying, the shield of expectation, the sword of ambition. This is not an act of surrender to defeat. It is an act of surrender to a deeper wisdom. This is not a space for finding more answers from the outside world. It is a space for listening to the quiet that has been waiting underneath the noise. Here, in this stillness, we begin a different kind of journey. Not a pursuit, but an uncovering. Not a hunt, but an invitation. We are learning not how to seize life by the throat, but how to become the very space that life has been longing to enter. The chase is over. Let us now learn how to be found. The exhaustion is not simple. It is not the clean fatigue of a body after a day of meaningful labor, a tiredness that invites deep and dreamless sleep to number. This is a different substance entirely. It is a spiritual corrosion, a fraying of the soul's very fabric. It is the exhaustion of the perpetual hunt. We have been conditioned to be hunters in the jungle of our own lives. From our first breath, we are taught to seek, to acquire, to conquer. The prey has many names: security, status, love, enlightenment. We are told it exists outside of us, a separate entity to be tracked, cornered, and captured. So we learn the ways of the hunter. We sharpen our senses, not to the beauty of the forest, but to the slightest rustle in the undergrowth that might signal an opportunity. Our eyes are always scanning the horizon, our ears are always pricked for the sound of competition. We live in a state of low-grade, constant vigilance. The hunter's mind is a fortress of strategy, always calculating angles, measuring risks, anticipating the next move. It is a powerful tool, but it has a terrible cost. The hunter can never truly be in the forest. He cannot feel the cool moss under his feet, or see the way the light filters through the canopy, or hear the symphony of life that surrounds him. His reality is narrowed to a single tense focus, the target. And so it is with us. In our hunt for a future happiness, we have become blind to the vibrant, living presence of our own lives, right here, right now. This is the source of the deep weariness. It is the immense, draining effort of holding a single, rigid posture for years, the posture of pursuit. This entire architecture of pursuit is built on a single, flawed premise: that you are incomplete, and the thing that will complete you is somewhere out there. It is a foundational myth, whispered by society, amplified by culture, and cemented by the relentless engine of comparison. We see the curated lives of others and perceive them as successful hunts. We see their trophies, their captured happiness, and we believe their forest is more abundant or their skills more sharp. And so we redouble our efforts. We run faster. We work longer. We sacrifice more of our inner peace for the promise of an external prize. Life ceases to be a mystery to be lived and becomes a problem to be solved, a series of objectives to be ticked off a list. Get the degree. Find the partner. Buy the house. Secure the promotion. Each objective is a pin on a map, and we believe that if we can just reach the next pin, the map will finally make sense. The treasure will be ours. But with each pin we reach, a strange thing happens. The moment of triumph is fleeting, a brief exhale before the inhale of a new anxiety. The satisfaction is thin, watery, and evaporates almost instantly, leaving behind the same dry ache of insufficiency. We have become human doings, not human beings. Our value, in our own eyes, is not inherent in our existence, but is something that must be perpetually earned through action, through acquisition, through the next successful hunt. This is the treadmill. We mistake the sweat on our brow and the burning in our lungs for progress. We believe the sheer intensity of our effort must be taking us somewhere, but the scenery never changes. We are expending heroic amounts of energy simply to stay in the same place, a place defined by the gnawing feeling that we are not yet there. This creates a brutal conflict within the self, a silent civil war waged in the quiet moments of the day. One part of you, the deep, instinctual self, knows this is madness. It is the part of you that feels the exhaustion, the part that yearns for stillness, the part that remembers, however faintly, a time before the hunt began. It speaks in the language of feeling, of physical symptoms. It is the tension in your shoulders, the shallow breath, the knot in your stomach. It is the sudden, inexplicable wave of sadness on a perfectly fine afternoon. This part of you is a refugee in your own kingdom, whispering, "Please, let us rest. This is not the way. Let us simply sit by the river and watch the water flow." But there is another voice, and it is a tyrant. It is the voice of the conditioned mind, the voice of the inner hunter, the voice of fear, and it screams. It screams with the authority of a lifetime of training. It says, "If you stop, you will be left behind. If you rest, you will fail. The world is a race, and to stand still is to be trampled. Look at everyone else. They are still running. What makes you think you can afford to stop?" This voice is a master of disguise. It calls fear responsibility. It calls anxiety ambition. It calls the relentless chase purpose. It shames your weariness, labeling it as weakness or laziness. And so you are torn. You are a battlefield. The longing for peace wars with the terror of oblivion. The desire to let go clashes with the ingrained habit of holding on tighter. This internal friction is the very essence of suffering. It is a fire that consumes your energy, leaving you not just tired from running on the treadmill, but hollowed out from the war within. You are paralyzed, running in place, because a part of you is desperately pushing the accelerator while another part is slamming on the brakes. Here is the truth that can begin to quiet the war. The problem is not your lack of stamina. The problem is not your speed. The problem is the chase itself. You are trying to solve a spiritual crisis with a physical solution. You are trying to fill an inner void with external things. It is a fundamental mismatch of categories, like trying to quench a thirst with sand. You could have all the sand in the desert, and you would still be thirsty. You can achieve every goal you set, and you will still feel the void, because the void is not a lack of things. It is a lack of self. You have been running away from the one place where true peace can be found. The present moment, the core of your own being. The treadmill is the perfect metaphor. The machine itself is a monument to effort without a rival. Its entire purpose is to simulate a journey while ensuring you never leave your starting point. This is what the chase does. It keeps your mind, your energy, and your focus perpetually fixed on a future that never arrives, and in doing so, It denies you the only life you will ever have, which is this one, the one happening right now. Stepping off the treadmill is terrifying because the silence that follows the mechanical roar is deafening at first. But in that silence, you can begin to hear other things, your own heartbeat, the sound of your own breath, the whisper of that deeper self that has been drowned out for so long. So what is the first step? It is not to plan a new, better chase. It is not to find a new, more spiritual target to hunt. The first step is infinitesimally small, and yet it is the most powerful act of rebellion you can commit. It is the practice of non-judgmental acknowledgement. It requires no effort, only a gentle, honest attention. The next time you feel that familiar, soul-deep weariness, do not fight it. Do not analyze it. Do not try to medicate it with distraction or push through it with brute force. Simply stop. Close your eyes for a moment if you can, and allow the feeling to be there. Give it a name, silently, in your mind. This is the exhaustion of the chase. That is all. No, I shouldn't feel this way. No, I am failing because I am tired. Just the simple, clean, courageous act of acknowledging what is true in that moment. I am exhausted from this chase. In that moment of acknowledgement, you are no longer the runner. You become the observer of the runner. You create a tiny sliver of space between your awareness and the mechanism of the hunt. You are not fixing the exhaustion. You are befriending it. You are treating it not as an enemy but as a messenger. And its message is vital. It is telling you that you are going in the wrong direction. It is telling you that your soul is protesting the barren landscape of the treadmill. This simple act of acknowledgement is the first turn of the key, the first crack of light under the prison door. It is the beginning of reclaiming your own presence, of calling your energy back from the phantom future into the living reality of your own body. This weariness is not a curse, it is a sacred signal. It is the intelligence of your own life, calling you to come home. The exhaustion of the chase leaves a vacuum, and our modern world abhors a vacuum. Into this space of weariness rushes a torrent of noise. This noise is the chase's desperate accomplice, its ever-present soundtrack. It is more than just the audible clamor of traffic or construction. It is a deeper, more invasive frequency. It is the silent, ceaseless cascade of information, the endless scroll of opinions, the phantom vibration in your pocket, the 24-hour news cycle that frames the world as a perpetual crisis, demanding your constant anxious attention. It is the invisible pressure to have an opinion on everything, to be always connected, always available, always processing. We have become accustomed to living inside an echo chamber, a digital hall of mirrors where the voices of millions are amplified and reflected, until we mistake their roar for the sound of our own thoughts. We wake up and immediately invite the world into our minds before our own consciousness has even fully arrived. We consume the anxieties, desires, and outrage of others with our morning coffee, and we carry them with us throughout the day like a borrowed, ill-fitting coat. This constant inundation is not a passive activity. It is an active draining of our life force. Each notification, each headline, each curated image is a small hook that pulls a fragment of our attention away from our center, scattering our energy across 1,000 meaningless fronts. We are left feeling thin, diffused, like a drop of ink in a turbulent river, losing all color, all potency, all sense of our original form. The psychological root of this addiction to noise is a profound fear of what we might find in the silence. Silence is the great revealer. It is an unblinking mirror. In the absence of external stimulus, the internal landscape is illuminated, and what we often fear to see there is the very exhaustion we spoke of. We fear the questions that bubble up when the distractions fade. Am I happy? Is this the life I wanted? Who am I, really, when I am not performing, not consuming, not reacting? These questions are terrifying because they demand an honest answer, and honesty demands change. So we choose the anesthetic of noise. We use the chatter of the world to drown out the whispers of our own soul. It is a form of self-abandonment. We leave the quiet, vulnerable core of our being unattended, preferring the loud, chaotic party in the foreground. This noise also provides a convenient, ready-made identity. In the clamor of tribal opinions, it is easy to pick a side. We adopt the thoughts, language, and moral outrage of a group, and in return, we are granted a sense of belonging, a prepackaged self. It feels like connection, but it is often a substitute for the much harder, much more rewarding work of cultivating a genuine self, a self that forms its own thoughts and feels its own authentic emotions. We become a collection of borrowed ideas, a collage of trending sentiments. The noise gives us a script, a role to play in the grand drama, saving us from the terrifying, open-ended freedom of writing our own lines. The profound tragedy is that the very thing we use to avoid our emptiness only serves to deepen it. This creates a deeply felt internal conflict. There is a part of you, the authentic self, that is suffocating under the weight of this noise. It feels the anxiety, the lack of focus, the spiritual malnutrition. This self craves clarity. It craves a single, solid thought that is entirely its own. It yearns for the mental space to hear its own intuition, to feel its own unadulterated emotions. It longs for the quiet peace of an open field, for the vast, clean emptiness of the sky. But there is another part, the conditioned, addicted self, that panics at the very thought of silence. This is the part that has been trained by the instant gratification of the digital world. It equates stillness with boredom, and boredom with a kind of existential death. The moment the noise stops, this part grows restless, agitated. It is the twitch in your thumb to scroll again. It is the urge to fill the momentary silence in a conversation with meaningless chatter. It is the immediate reach for a device the second you find yourself alone. This is the subtle agony of withdrawal. You are caught between the fatigue of overstimulation and the fear of understimulation. You feel exhausted by the constant input, yet you are terrified of what might happen if you were to unplug. This conflict keeps you in a state of purgatory, a noisy, anxious limbo where you are neither truly engaged with the world nor truly at peace with yourself. You are simply consuming, reacting, and echoing, trapped in a cycle where the only cure for the anxiety caused by the noise seems to be more noise. The core message that can break this cycle is simple and absolute. You cannot hear your own truth in a room full of screams. Your inner voice, your intuition, your soul's guidance does not shout. It is not aggressive. It speaks in a quiet, steady tone, and it will be heard only when you have cultivated the silence for it to resonate. Think of your mind as a deep lake. When the winds of constant information, opinion, and distraction are blowing, the surface of the lake is churned into a chaotic mess of waves. In this state, the lake can reflect nothing clearly. It can only reflect its own turmoil. The sky above, with its infinite wisdom and clarity, remains unseen. The reflection is a distorted, fragmented, anxious version of reality. This is the mind that lives in noise. It is reactive, agitated, and incapable of deep insight. True clarity, the kind that allows you to know your next right step, is the moon reflected perfectly on the water's surface. This reflection can only happen when the wind has ceased and the water has become completely still. The silence is not an absence. It is the calming of the wind. It is the intentional act of allowing the waters of your mind to settle, so that they can finally become a perfect mirror for the truth that is already there, waiting to be seen. You do not need to seek this truth. You do not need to chase it. You only need to create the conditions for it to be revealed. You must become the still lake. The way to begin is not with a violent renunciation of the world. It is with a gentle, deliberate reclamation of your own attention. You must create islands of silence in the vast ocean of noise. This is a practice, not a destination. Start small. Find 5 minutes in your day, just 5, perhaps in the morning before you reach for your phone or during a lunch break or before you go to sleep. In these 5 minutes, you will create a sanctuary. Turn everything off. Sit in a chair with your back straight but not stiff. Set a timer so you are not tempted to check the time, and then do nothing. Your only task is to sit and to breathe. Your mind will not be silent, it will be a tempest. It will scream for its usual dose of stimulus. It will present you with urgent to-do lists, replay old conversations, and generate anxieties about the future. Do not fight this. Do not judge it. Simply observe it. Watch the chaos of your own mind as you would watch a storm from behind a strong window. The practice is not to achieve silence in the mind. The practice is to sit in silence with the body and to witness the mind's noise without being swept away by it. Each time you do this, you are strengthening a muscle. It is the muscle of awareness, the muscle of non-reaction. You are teaching your nervous system cell by cell that silence is not a threat. You are demonstrating to yourself that you can survive without constant input. These 5-minute islands will begin to feel like home. You can gradually extend their shores to 10 minutes, to 15. This is not another task to add to your list. This is an act of profound self-respect. It is the most radical thing you can do in a world that is trying to steal your attention. It is here, on these quiet islands of your own making, that the echoes will finally begin to fade. And in the stillness that follows, you will at last begin to hear the sound of your own voice. We carry ghosts within the machine. They are not specters in a haunted house, but echoes in the quiet corridors of the mind, phantom limbs of a self that no longer exists. Listen closely in a moment of stillness, and you can hear them. The whisper of a past failure, the sting of a cruel word spoken decades ago, the warm, treacherous glow of a past glory that makes the present feel pale and insufficient. These are the ghosts of yesterday, and they have taken up residence in the home of today. You have lived with them for so long, you may have forgotten what true silence feels like. You mistake their constant murmuring for the sound of your own soul. You believe their weight is simply the gravity of life itself. But it is not. It is the weight of an anchor, dropped long ago, in a harbor you have long since departed. The past is a powerful storyteller. It weaves narratives of identity that are so compelling, so deeply ingrained, that we mistake them for unchangeable truth. There is the ghost of trauma, the specter that replays an injury over and over, convincing you that the world is permanently unsafe, that you are permanently broken. It dictates your reactions, it narrows your vision, it holds your heart in a cage of remembered pain. Every new opportunity is filtered through its lens of fear. Every new person is a potential threat. Its primary function is to protect you from being hurt again. But in its tireless vigilance, it prevents you from ever truly living again. It builds a fortress around you, and you have come to call it home, forgetting the vast open landscape that lies just beyond its walls. Then there is the other, more subtle ghost, the ghost of glory. This is the specter of your former self, the one who was stronger, more successful, more loved, more vibrant. It holds up a golden photograph of a moment in time and uses it to measure the grayness of your now. You scroll through the archives of your own life, not for wisdom, but for a feeling you can no longer access. This ghost is a sweet poison. It whispers that your best days are behind you. It creates a quiet, gnawing dissatisfaction with the present, not because the present is lacking, but because it can never compete with a memory polished to perfection by time and longing. You become a curator of your own museum, dusting off old trophies while life, raw and real and uncursoriated, passes you by. Whether the ghost is one of pain or of glory, its effect is the same. It keeps you tethered to a time that is gone. It forces you to walk through the world looking backward, and so you stumble, you miss the path, you fail to see the person right in front of you. The conflict, the deep inner struggle, is between the comfort of these chains and the terrifying freedom of letting them go. There is a strange safety in our old stories. The identity of the one who was wronged, or the one who was once great, is a solid thing, a role we know how to play. The script is written, the lines are memorized. To drop that script is to step onto a bare stage, with no lines, no character, no plot. It is to stand in the pure, unwritten, and profoundly unsettling space of the present moment. The present demands that we define ourselves anew in this breath and then again in the next. It has no loyalty to our past. It does not care about our scars or our trophies. It simply asks, "Who are you now?" And for a mind accustomed to the familiar weight of its ghosts, that question is the most frightening of all. So we retreat. We pull the heavy cloak of the past around our shoulders, because its familiar weight feels more like an embrace than a burden. We choose the known prison over the unknown wilderness. But here is the truth that will set you free if you let it. The past is a story, not an anchor. This is the core message, the light that can dissolve the ghosts. A story is a thing you can visit. You can open its pages, read its words, learn its lessons, feel its emotions, and then you can close the book and put it back on the shelf. Its wisdom becomes part of you, but its pages do not become your skin. An anchor, however, is a dead weight. Its only function is to hold you in one place, to stop your movement, to keep your ship stuck in the murky silt of an old harbor while the great, wide ocean of life calls to you. For too long, you have been treating your story like an anchor. You have wrapped its chains around your own hull, believing that its weight is what gives you stability. But it is only preventing you from sailing. Imagine the river of time. It flows in one direction only, from the past, through the present, toward the future. It is constant, ceaseless, and unforgiving in its forward momentum. You cannot step into the same river twice. The water that touches your feet now will be in the ocean by tomorrow. Your memories, your past selves, are like leaves and twigs that have fallen into this river. They float alongside you for a time. They are part of the river's story, part of what it has carried. But they are not the river itself. You are the river. Your essence is the flowing, the moving, the becoming. To cling to a leaf, to an old story, is to fight the very nature of your being. It is an act of resistance against life itself. To release the past is to finally surrender to your own current, to stop fighting the flow and to become one with it. So how do we perform this act of release? It must be a conscious ritual, an act of intention. Here is a practice, a suggestion forged in the quiet understanding of this struggle. Find a time when you will not be disturbed. Take a piece of paper and write a letter to your past self, not the self of yesterday, but the self who is the architect of the ghost that haunts you most. The self who endured the pain, or the self who achieved the glory. Address them with respect. Begin by acknowledging them. To the one who was scared, or to the one who stood on the summit, thank them. Thank that self for everything it did to survive. Thank it for the coping mechanisms it developed, however clumsy. Thank it for its strength, for its resilience, for carrying you through the fire. That self did the best it could with the knowledge and the tools it had at the time. Then you must forgive that self. Forgive it for its mistakes. Forgive it for the walls it built that you are now trapped behind. Forgive it for believing the lies, for holding on too tight, for not knowing what you know now. This forgiveness is not for its benefit, for it no longer exists. It is for yours. It is the key that unlocks the chain. And finally, you must release it. Write the words, "Your time is over, your service is complete. You have carried me this far, and I am grateful. Now, I release you. You are free to go." Read the letter aloud. Let the vibrations of your own voice declare this freedom, and then you must destroy it. Do not keep it. Do not file it away. Take it outside and burn it safely. Watch the paper curl and blacken. Watch the words, the stories, the ghosts turn into smoke and disappear into the vast, indifferent sky. Or, if you cannot burn it, tear it into the smallest possible pieces until the words are just meaningless scraps of pulp. And as you do, feel the weight lifting. Feel the space it leaves behind. This is not a magic trick. The ghosts may try to return, out of habit. But something profound has shifted. You have declared your allegiance to the present, You have consciously chosen the story's end. When the echoes start to murmur again, you can now recognize them for what they are, not truth, but smoke. Remnants of a fire long extinguished. The machine of the mind begins to quiet down. The phantom limbs cease their aching. The river flows on, unimpeded, and for the first time, in a long time, you are flowing with it, unburdened, present, and free. If the past is a ghost, the future is a tyrant. It is a ruler who governs a kingdom that does not exist, yet demands absolute loyalty from its subjects. This tyrant has a name, a question that it whispers relentlessly, a question that becomes the anthem of an anxious mind. What if? What if I fail? What if they leave? What if I am not enough? What if the worst happens? This question is not a genuine inquiry. It is a hook, baited with fear, cast into the endless ocean of the unknown. And once you bite, it pulls you out of the solid reality of now and into the phantom currents of a future that is nothing more than a fabrication of your own mind. This is the tyranny of the horizon. You stand on solid ground, yet your gaze is fixed on a shimmering line in the distance, a place you can see but never reach. And you exhaust yourself. You drain all the life from the present moment in a desperate, futile race toward this illusion. Anxiety is a profound misuse of one of the mind's greatest gifts, imagination. Your imagination was designed to be a workshop for creation. It is the faculty that allows you to envision a bridge before it is built, to feel the grace of a poem before it is written, to map a journey to a new world. It is a tool for bringing new realities into being. But anxiety hijacks this sacred workshop. It commandeers the machinery and retools the assembly line. Instead of creating possibilities, it begins to mass-produce dread. It becomes a factory for fear, churning out exquisitely detailed, high-definition scenarios of every possible disaster. Your mind, in its anxious state, does not just think, "I might be late." It produces a feature film, complete with dialogue, sound effects, and emotional scoring of you being late, the consequences, the judgment in people's eyes, the cascading failures that will surely follow. You live through this catastrophe, a catastrophe that has not happened and may never happen, with all the emotional and physiological intensity of a real event. Your heart races, your breath becomes shallow, your stomach tightens. You are fighting a war against an army of shadows, on a battlefield that exists only in your head. The inner conflict here is born from a fundamental misunderstanding of control. The mind, particularly the ego, abhors a vacuum. It cannot stand uncertainty. The vast, open, unknown expanse of the future is a void that the ego feels compelled to fill. And because the brain's primary directive, inherited from our ancient ancestors, is survival, it fills that void with threats. A known monster, however terrifying, feels more manageable than the possibility of a monster hiding in the dark. So we create the monsters ourselves. We believe, on some deep, irrational level, that if we can just worry enough, if we can just anticipate every possible negative outcome, we can somehow preemptively solve them or soften their blow. We become obsessive map makers, trying to chart every rock and reef in a sea that is constantly changing. It is an act of supreme arrogance, this belief that our little minds can outwit the infinite complexity of life. It is the ego's desperate attempt to be God for a day, to impose order on a universe that thrives on chaos and spontaneity. And the clash between this desperate need for control and the fundamental, uncontrollable nature of reality is what grinds us down. It is the source of the friction that heats the mind to a fever pitch, the source of the exhaustion that seeps into your bones. Here is the turning point, the pivot upon which your freedom rests. Your power is not in predicting the future, it is in inhabiting the present. Read that again. Your power is not in predicting the future, it is in inhabiting the present. The future is not a pre-written destination you are traveling toward. The future is a consequence, an echo, a result that is born directly out of the quality and intention you bring to this exact moment, now. A future of peace cannot be born from a present filled with anxious turmoil. A future of strength cannot be built on a foundation of present moment fear. You are trying to build a house by worrying about the roof, while neglecting to lay a single brick for the foundation. Your only point of power, the only place you can affect any real change, the only moment you can truly live, is this one. By projecting your consciousness into the phantom kingdom of what if, you are abdicating your throne in the only kingdom that is real, the kingdom of now. You are a ship's captain, so terrified of a storm that might appear on the horizon that you have abandoned the wheel. The ship is adrift, and the real danger is not the imaginary storm, but the very real rocks you are drifting toward because you are not paying attention. Stop chasing the horizon. It is a trick of perception. The harder you run toward it, the faster it recedes. The promised land is never reached. The tyranny lies in this endless chase. The liberation is in stopping, in taking a breath, and in looking down at your own 2 feet, planted firmly on the earth. The liberation is in appreciating the landscape you are actually in, not the one you imagine you are running toward. The richness, the texture, the reality of life is right here, not there. So how do you call your scattered mind back from its frantic chase? How do you pull your consciousness out of the imaginary future and anchor it in the real present? You must use the body to tame the mind. You must use the senses to break the spell of thought. Here is a simple, powerful practice. It is not a distraction. It is an act of reclamation. When you feel the familiar tide of anxiety begin to rise, when the what-ifs begin their chant, you must stop. Just stop. And begin this exercise, this grounding ritual. Name 5 things you can see. Do not just glance at them. Truly see them. The way the light catches the edge of a glass, the intricate grain of wood on your table, the precise shade of green on a leaf, the crack in the ceiling. Name them, either out loud or in your head. This forces your brain to engage with the external world, to process real, incoming data. Now, name 4 things you can feel. The texture of your shirt against your skin, the solid pressure of the chair beneath you, the subtle coolness of the air on your cheeks, the smoothness of your phone in your hand. Feel the sensations. They are real. They are happening now. Listen. Name 3 things you can hear. The distant hum of traffic, the ticking of a clock, the sound of your own breathing. Anxiety lives in a projected future, but sound can only exist in the present. Tune your awareness to the symphony of the now. Next, name 2 things you can smell, perhaps the faint scent of coffee or the smell of rain on the pavement. Even if the smells are neutral, just the act of searching for them focuses the mind. Finally, name 1 thing you can taste. The lingering taste of your last meal, or just the neutral, familiar taste of your own mouth. This is not a magic spell. It is neuroscience. It is a manual override. You are forcing your awareness to travel from the abstract, storytelling part of your brain to the sensory cortex, the part that processes direct, tangible reality. You are yanking the needle of your consciousness off the scratched, repeating record of what if, and placing it into the rich, vibrant groove of what is. The tyrant of the horizon only has power over you if you agree to live in its imaginary kingdom. Its threats are hollow. Its promises are illusions. Your freedom lies not in fighting it, but in simply withdrawing your citizenship. Return to your body. Return to your senses. The future you are so worried about will be built from the materials of this moment. Tend to them. Your work is not to conquer the horizon, but to cultivate the ground upon which you stand. Do that, and the future will take care of itself. The horizon will still be there, but it will no longer be a tyrant. It will be what it always was, a beautiful, distant line that defines the magnificent view from right where you are. We have spoken of the ghosts of the past and the tyrants of the future. We have explored the realms of memory and imagination where the mind so loves to dwell. Now we must ask the most simple and most profound question of all. Where are you right now? Not your coordinates on a map, not the room you are sitting in, but where is the center of your awareness? If you are like most, the honest answer is somewhere else. Your body is here, but your mind is replaying a conversation from yesterday, drafting an email for tomorrow, worrying about next week, or lost in a fantasy about a different life. You are a house with all its lights on, but nobody is home. This state of absence is the default human condition in the modern world, and it is the deepest source of our quiet desperation. We are living our lives by proxy, experiencing them as a second-hand report delivered by a distracted mind, rather than a direct, first-hand reality. The mind is a restless creature. Ancient traditions called it the monkey mind, a frantic, chattering being, swinging restlessly from the branch of one thought to the next, never still, never silent. It swings backward to the branch of regret, then forward to the branch of anxiety. It chatters about what it wants, what it fears, what it judges. This is its nature. It is a problem-solving machine, and if it has no immediate problem to solve, it will create one. It will dissect the past for errors, or rehearse the future for threats. Stillness feels unproductive to it, even dangerous. And so, it keeps you moving, keeps you thinking, keeps you perpetually absent from the only moment that is ever real. The cost of this absence is your life itself. It slips through your fingers, moment by unlived moment. You look at your children, but you are thinking about a deadline. You eat a meal, but you are tasting your own worries. A friend speaks to you, but you are hearing the voice of your inner critic. You are a phantom in your own existence, and you wonder why you feel so hollow, so disconnected, so starved for something real. You are starving because you are refusing the only nourishment that is ever offered, the substance of the present moment. The inner conflict, the great work of this practice, is the battle between the seduction of thought and the solid ground of sensation. The world of your thoughts is endlessly entertaining. It is a private cinema, showing dramas and comedies and thrillers, all starring you. It feels important. It feels productive. To wrestle with a problem in your mind feels like you are doing something about it. To replay a success feels good. To rehearse a confrontation feels necessary. In contrast, the present moment can seem dull. The feeling of your breath entering and leaving your body, the pressure of your feet on the floor, the ambient sound of the room. There is no drama here. There is no story. There is only what is. And the mind, addicted to its own noise, will rebel against this simplicity. It will tell you this is boring. It is a waste of time. There are more important things to be thinking about. This is the pull of the addiction, the gravitational force of distraction. The practice of presence is the steady, quiet, and profoundly courageous act of resisting that pull, of gently but firmly bringing your awareness back, again and again, from the noisy cinema of your mind to the silent, solid reality of your body. Here is the most important truth you will ever learn, the key that unlocks the door to a life of depth and meaning. The present moment is the only place life exists. Everything else is a phantom. The past is a memory, a pattern of neural connections in your brain. It does not exist anymore. You cannot go back to it. You cannot change it. It is an echo. The future is an imagination, a projection of thought. It does not exist yet. You cannot live in it. You cannot control it. It is a mirage. The only time you are ever alive is now. The only place you can feel, learn, create, love, or experience anything at all is in this fleeting, eternal moment. This is not poetry. It is the literal, physical, neurological truth of your existence. To live in the past or the future is to be asleep. To awaken is to arrive in the now. This is where the metaphor of the anchor becomes your most powerful tool. When the storms of life hit, when waves of fear or anger or grief wash over you, your thinking mind is not your friend. Your thinking mind is the storm. It whips the waves into a frenzy, It adds its own narrative of panic and despair to the raw energy of the emotion. Trying to think your way out of an emotional storm is like trying to calm the ocean by shouting at it. It is futile and exhausting. Presence is the anchor. The anchor does not stop the storm. The anchor does not command the waves to be still. The anchor simply holds the ship steady. It connects the vessel to the solid, unmoving ground beneath the turbulence. The practice of presence is the act of dropping this anchor. The anchor is your sensory experience of the now. The feeling of your breath, the sensations in your body, the sounds in the room, these are the solid ground beneath the storm of thought and emotion. By placing your attention there, you anchor yourself. The storm may still rage, but you are no longer tossed about by it. You are held, you are steady. You find a place of deep, unshakable peace right in the middle of the chaos. How then do we practice dropping this anchor? We must begin with small, deliberate acts of arrival. Choose a simple, routine activity. Making a cup of tea, washing your hands, taking a short walk, and decide that for the duration of that activity, you will be fully present. Let us take the simple act of drinking a cup of tea. First, do not just make the tea. Be there for the making. Listen to the sound of the water filling the kettle. Watch it. Begin to boil. Feel the weight of the mug in your hand. Notice its color, its shape. Feel the warmth spreading through the ceramic as you pour the water. See the steam rising, carrying the scent. Before you drink, take a moment. Inhale the aroma. Let it be the only thing in your universe. Then, when you take a sip, do not just swallow it, taste it. Truly taste the complexity of its flavor. Feel the liquid warmth as it enters your mouth and travels down your throat into your body. Feel the way your body responds. Do this for just 5 minutes. Your mind will wander. That is what it does. It will start thinking about the next thing or the last thing. The practice is not to have a perfectly still mind. The practice is to notice, with gentle patience, when the mind has wandered, and to kindly, without judgment, guide it back. Back to the warmth of the mug, back to the taste of the tea, back to the feeling of the breath. Each time you do this, you are strengthening a muscle. You are performing one repetition of a sacred exercise. You are training yourself to come home. This is the power of presence. It is not a lofty, mystical state for the enlightened few. It is your birthright. It is the simple, radical act of inhabiting your own life. It is the gravity of now, a constant, gentle force, always available, always waiting to pull your scattered consciousness back to its center, back to reality. Life is not a dress rehearsal for some future event. The main event is now. It is this breath, and the next, and the next. The storm will pass, the anchor will hold. The quiet, solid ground of the present moment is always here, right beneath your feet. All you have to do is stop and feel it. There is a word that has been stolen from the lexicon of the strong and handed to the language of the weak. That word is acceptance. In the common mind, it has become tangled with resignation, with passivity, with giving up. To accept, we are told, is to be a doormat, to let the world walk all over you, to surrender in defeat. This is a profound and crippling misunderstanding. True acceptance is not an act of weakness. It is an act of supreme strength, of radical clarity, and of immense strategic power. It is the unshackling of the soul from the unwinnable war against reality. It is the first and most necessary step toward any meaningful change. The warrior who insists on fighting the storm itself will drown. The wise warrior accepts the storm's power and instead builds a stronger ship. For most of our lives, we are at war with what is. A silent, grinding, and utterly exhausting conflict rages within us, a war fought against the truth of the present moment. It is a war fueled by a single, pervasive thought pattern. This should not be. This should not be this hard. He should not have left. She should not have said that. I should not feel this anxious. I should be further along in my life. Each of these thoughts is a declaration of war on reality. We become our own private lawyers, endlessly arguing a case against the universe in the high court of our minds. We present evidence. We call witnesses from our memory. We make passionate closing arguments for why the facts of our life are wrong, unjust, and unacceptable. And the universe, in its infinite, impartial silence, never even bothers to respond. Reality is the final verdict. It cannot be appealed. The cost of this futile war is immeasurable. It is the chronic tension you feel in your shoulders and jaw. It is the bitter, acidic taste of resentment that spoils your meals. It is the energy that leaks out of you all day long, leaving you too drained in the evening to do anything but numb yourself. It is the fog of frustration that clouds your judgment and sours your relationships. You are spending 100% of your vital life force fighting a battle you are guaranteed to lose every single time. Imagine standing in the pouring rain, shouting at the clouds to stop. Your throat becomes raw, your body grows cold, you are soaked to the bone, and all your energy is consumed by this useless rage. Meanwhile, the person next to you simply accepts the fact that it is raining, and with the energy they saved from not shouting at the sky, they calmly open an umbrella or walk inside a nearby building. Who is more powerful? Who is more foolish? The war against what is the definition of madness. This is where we must draw a line in the sand with a sword to sever the crippling bond between acceptance and resignation. Resignation is defeat. Resignation is standing in that rain and collapsing into a puddle, sighing, "I guess this is my life now, to be cold and wet forever." It is a state of helplessness. It is the abdication of power. It says, because I cannot change this one fact, I can change nothing. It is the soul giving up. Acceptance is the polar opposite. Acceptance is power. Acceptance is standing in that same rain, feeling the cold drops on your skin, and stating with calm, unshakable clarity, "It is raining." This is not a complaint. It is not a judgment. It is a sober, clear-eyed assessment of reality. It is the foundation upon which all intelligent action is built. Because it is raining, I will seek shelter. Because it is raining, I will build a fire. Because this relationship has ended, I will now learn to be whole on my own. Because this venture has failed, I will now analyze the mistakes and begin again with more wisdom. Acceptance does not mean you like the situation. It does not mean you approve of it. It simply means you are willing to see it for exactly what it is, without the distortion of your wishes or your fears. You stop arguing with reality, and you start working with it. This is the alchemy of the soul. In ancient mythology, alchemy was the secret art of turning lead into gold. In our inner world, resistance is lead. It is heavy. It is toxic. It weighs you down and poisons your spirit. The relentless inner argument of "this should not be" is pure psychic lead. Acceptance is the catalyst, the philosopher's stone that transforms this base metal. The moment you truly accept a situation, the moment you stop fighting its very existence, all the energy that was locked up in that futile struggle is liberated. It is an immense, incredible release of power. That energy, which was being wasted on the war against reality, now becomes available to you. It is the gold. It is the fuel you can now use to heal, to create, to build, to endure, to change what can be changed. You cannot shape lead into anything useful, but with gold, you can forge a new crown. Think of a master blacksmith. She does not receive a piece of iron and curse it for being hard and dark. She does not wish it were soft like clay or bright like silver. To do so would be insanity. She accepts the fundamental nature of iron. She knows it requires tremendous heat. She knows it requires powerful, repeated blows from a hammer. She accepts these truths, and by working with them, not against them, she transforms that hard, dark lump of metal into a sharp, resilient, beautiful sword. We must become the blacksmiths of our own lives. We must accept the nature of our own Iranth painful emotions, the difficult circumstances, the inconvenient truths, and then, with the liberated fire of our own energy, we can begin the work of forging a new self. How do we practice this alchemy in the heat of a difficult moment? We must give the mind a specific tool, a question that cuts through the fog of resistance. When you find yourself caught in the loop of anger, blame, or despair, when you hear the familiar chant of, "This shouldn't be happening," you must pause. Take one deep breath and ask yourself this piercing question. Stripping away everything I wish were true and everything I fear is true, what is the simple, undeniable reality of this situation right now? The reality is not, my life is ruined. The reality is, I have lost my job. The reality is not, he betrayed me and I will never trust again. The reality is, this person broke a promise. The reality is not, I am a worthless failure. The reality is, this attempt did not produce the result I wanted. Do you see the difference? The first set of statements are dramatic stories, soaked in judgment and leaden with resistance. The second set are simple facts, clear and solid. From the ground of fact, you can plan a new journey. From the swamp of dramatic stories, you can only sink deeper. This question is a powerful solvent. It dissolves the story and leaves only the truth. And from the truth, however harsh, you can begin to build. To accept is not to be passive. It is to become a realist of the highest order. It is the most strategic, intelligent, and empowering thing you can do. It is the moment you call a truce in the unwinnable war, conserve your precious resources, and redirect your full power toward the battles that you can actually win. The first and most important of which is the battle for your own inner peace. Stop arguing with the rain. It will drench you every time. Instead, bow to it, acknowledge its power. And in that bow, in that profound act of acceptance, you will discover the strength not to be broken by it, but to stand up, clear-eyed and energized, ready to shape your next move. We must now speak of the most misunderstood and maligned virtue in the modern pursuit of self. We must speak of discipline. The word itself lands with a thud. It tastes of iron and deprivation. We picture a drill sergeant shouting in our face, a monk's cold and barren cell, a life stripped of color, spontaneity, and joy. We have come to see discipline as the enemy of freedom, as a rigid cage we must force ourselves into. We believe it is a punishment we inflict upon ourselves for our own perceived weaknesses. This is a lie. It is a profound, self-sabotaging lie that keeps us weak, adrift, and perpetually at the mercy of our own fleeting impulses. True discipline is not a cage. It is the forge. It is the deliberate, focused application of heat and pressure that transforms the soft, pliable metal of our potential into the unbreakable steel of a well-lived life. It is not an act of self-punishment. It is the ultimate act of self-love. The great war of your life is not fought on any external battlefield. It is fought every single day on the quiet internal landscape of your own mind. It is the silent, moment-by-moment choice between two versions of yourself. The first version is the self of right now, the creature of impulse and comfort. This self wants the extra hour of sleep. It wants the sugary treat. It wants the mindless scroll through an endless feed of distractions. It wants to avoid the difficult conversation, to put off the challenging work, to choose the path of least resistance. Its mantra is, "I'll do it tomorrow." Its currency is immediate gratification. It is a powerful, seductive voice, promising ease and pleasure in this very moment. The second version is the self you want to become. This is the architect, the planner, the wise and patient gardener of your future. This self understands that worthwhile things take time and effort. It knows that the deep, resonant satisfaction of achievement is worth 1,000 fleeting pleasures. It knows that health is built one healthy choice at a time, that knowledge is acquired one page at a time, that trust is earned one kept promise at a time. Its mantra is, "Do the work." Its currency is integrity. This self does not shout. It speaks in a quiet, steady voice, often drowned out by the clamoring demands of the first. The practice of discipline is the conscious, deliberate act of listening to that second voice and honoring its wisdom with your actions. It is choosing what you want most over what you want now. It is an act of profound allegiance to the person you are building. We have been sold a false definition of freedom. We have been taught that freedom is the absence of restraint, the ability to do whatever we want, whenever we want. This is not freedom. This is slavery. To be ruled by your immediate impulses is to be a slave to your moods. It is to have your day dictated by how you feel when you wake up, by the weather, by a passing craving, by a random notification on your phone. You are a ship without a rudder, tossed about by every passing wave. Your direction is not your own. You are not the captain of your soul. You are merely a passenger, hoping the currents will be kind. True freedom, the only freedom worth having, is born from discipline. Self-discipline is self-mastery. It is the ability to choose your course, to set your own sails, and to hold the rudder steady, regardless of the weather. It is the power to make a promise to yourself and keep it. It is the quiet dignity of knowing that your actions are aligned with your values, not just your appetites. When you have discipline, you are free from the tyranny of your own weakness. You are free from the gnawing self-loathing that comes from knowing you should have done something and didn't. You are free from the chaos of a life lived without intention. Discipline does not put you in a cage. It gives you the key to unlock the cage you are already in. Consider the process that creates a diamond. It begins as humble carbon, a common, unremarkable element. What transforms it into the hardest, most brilliant substance known to man? It is not a gentle process. It is an ordeal of unimaginable pressure and searing heat, sustained over vast stretches of time, deep within the earth. The pressure does not destroy the carbon. It organizes it. It forces its atoms into a perfect, interlocking, crystalline structure. It compresses its potential into a state of invincible clarity. Without the pressure, the carbon would remain just carbon. The pressure is the author of its brilliance. Discipline is the deliberate pressure you apply to your own life. It is the force that organizes your scattered energies, that compresses your latent potential into tangible skill, that transforms the common carbon of your good intentions into the diamond of your character. It hurts. It is uncomfortable. It demands that you hold steady under a force that seems determined to crush you. But it is not crushing you, it is creating you. So where does one begin to forge this spine of steel? The mistake we always make is to start too big. We declare that from tomorrow, we will change everything. We will wake up at dawn, exercise for an hour, meditate, eat perfectly, work without distraction, and be a paragon of virtue. This is like trying to lift a mountain. We fail on the second day, and in that failure, we reinforce the belief that we are undisciplined, that we are weak. We have attempted to build a skyscraper without laying a foundation. The work must begin with a single, unbreakable brick. You must make a promise to yourself that is so small, so laughably easy, that you cannot possibly fail. A commitment so simple that your lazy, impulsive self doesn't even have the energy to argue against it. The outline is this. Tomorrow morning, the very first thing you will do upon waking, before you check your phone, before you do anything else, is drink one full glass of water. This is not about hydration. This has nothing to do with water. This is about the promise. It is a micro-commitment, an atomic unit of integrity. When you do it, you have begun the day by keeping your word to yourself. You have cast the first vote for the person who is reliable. You have laid the first brick in the foundation of trust. The next day you do it again, and the next. Once that has become an effortless, automatic part of your identity, you add another brick. After I drink my glass of water, I will stretch for 1 minute. Just one. Again, the goal is not flexibility. The goal is the unbroken chain of promises kept. Each promise kept, no matter how small, is a hammer blow in the forge. Each one strengthens the steel. It is a quiet process. No one needs to know. There are no trophies. The only reward is the slow, steady emergence of a new kind of self-respect. You begin to trust yourself. You begin to know, on a cellular level, that when you decide to do something, it gets done. That is the quiet strength of discipline. It is the silent, internal knowing that you are no longer a leaf in the wind, but a mountain. And mountains are not built overnight. They are built by the slow, relentless, and disciplined accumulation of tiny, insignificant grains of sand. Begin with your one glass of water. Begin forging your spine. For centuries, we have been taught a dangerous myth. We have been taught that the mind is the sacred temple of the self, and the body is a crude, temporary vessel, an unruly animal to be tamed, disciplined, and ultimately transcended. We have learned to live from the neck up, as disembodied intellects, treating our physical forms like cars we use to ferry our precious brains from one meeting to the next. We have become strangers in our own homes. We are so lost in the noisy, labyrinthine corridors of our thoughts that we can no longer hear the profound, simple wisdom being spoken from the very foundation of the building. We have forgotten that long before the mind learned to tell its elaborate stories, the body already knew the truth. And it has never, not for 1 second, stopped telling it. The mind is a brilliant strategist, a gifted storyteller, and an expert lawyer. It can rationalize any action. It can justify any choice. It can construct intricate narratives of blame, victimhood, or grandeur to protect the fragile ego. Your mind can look you in the mirror and tell you, with absolute conviction, that you are fine, when every cell in your being is screaming that you are not. It will explain away the persistent fatigue, the chronic indigestion, the tightness in your chest. It will label them as mere annoyances, as products of stress, as problems to be managed or ignored. The mind is a master of deception, especially self-deception. It will edit, redact, and spin the story of your life to make it more palatable, more heroic, more bearable. The body cannot lie. The body is a living archive, a perfect and incorruptible record of your entire existence. It keeps the score. Every joy you have ever felt has left its luminous trace in the expansion of your cells, and every fear, every trauma, every unspoken grief is stored within its tissues. That knot in your stomach is not a metaphor. It is the physical residue of unprocessed fear. The clenched jaw you wake up with is not just a habit. It is the physical manifestation of unspoken anger. The heavy, leaden weight in your chest is not just a poetic description of sadness. It is the physiological reality of grief, pressing down on your heart. These are not malfunctions, they are messages. Your body is speaking to you in the only language it knows, the language of pure, honest sensation. It is the most truthful correspondent you will ever have, sending you constant, real-time updates from the front lines of your life. And you have been ignoring its dispatches for years. The inner conflict arises from the chasm between the mind's noise and the body's whisper. We have been conditioned to privilege the intellect. We want to understand our feelings, to analyze their origins, to put them into neat conceptual boxes. When we feel a pang of anxiety, our immediate impulse is to ask, why? We launch a full-scale cognitive investigation, searching for a reason, a culprit, a story. This feels productive. It keeps the mind busy. But it is an act of avoidance. It is infinitely easier to think about your anxiety than it is to actually feel your anxiety. To feel it is to drop below the story and make direct contact with the raw, chaotic, and often overwhelming physical sensation of it. The vibrating energy in your solar plexus, the cold dread spreading through your limbs, the suffocating pressure on your throat. To simply be with these sensations without a story, without a judgment, requires a kind of raw vulnerability that our intellect is terrified of. And so, it shouts, it distracts, it offers up 1,000 thoughts, 1,000 explanations, anything to keep you from having to descend into the basement of your being and feel what is actually there. This is where you must learn to see your body not as a problem to be solved, but as a compass to be read. This is the core of this teaching. Your body is an exquisitely sensitive instrument, and its needle is always, unerringly, pointing toward the true north of your inner reality. While your mind is lost in a blizzard of conflicting thoughts, arguing about the map, questioning the destination, the compass lies in your hand, its needle steady and true. You have simply forgotten how to read it. When you are considering a decision, and you feel a sense of lightness, of expansion, of warmth in your chest and belly, that is the compass needle swinging toward yes. It is the body's signal of alignment and truth. When you consider another path, and you feel a subtle, or not so subtle, sense of contraction, of coldness, of tightness, of dread, that is the compass needle swinging firmly toward number. This is not mysticism, it is biology. It is your nervous system's profound pre-verbal intelligence, giving you immediate, unfiltered feedback on what supports your well-being and what threatens it. We have been taught to trust the chattering, unreliable narrator in our heads, and to ignore the unwavering wisdom of the compass in our hands. How then do you relearn this forgotten language? You must practice the art of embodied listening. You must create moments of deliberate stillness and turn the full, gentle force of your attention inward. This is the practice of the body scan. Find a quiet place to sit or lie down. Close your eyes. And the instruction is not to relax. The instruction is not to feel good. The instruction is simply to feel. Begin with your feet. Without wiggling your toes or moving them, simply bring your awareness to them. What sensations are present? Is there warmth, coldness, tingling, a feeling of pressure against the floor, numbness? There are no right or wrong answers. You are not trying to change anything. You are simply gathering data. You are listening. Slowly, like a gentle, warm beam of light, move your attention up through your body. Your ankles, your shins and calves, your knees, your thighs. Spend time in the center of your body, your pelvis, your belly. This is where so much of our emotional life is held. What do you feel here? Is it soft and relaxed, or is it tight, knotted, churning? Again, do not judge it. Do not try to force it to relax. Simply meet the sensation with your awareness. Breathe into it. Let your breath be a message that says, I am here. I am listening. It is safe to be felt. Continue your journey upward, through your chest, your shoulders, another great reservoir of tension down your arms to your hands. And finally, scan your neck, your jaw, your face, the tiny muscles around your eyes. Where are you holding on? Where is the tension of your unlived life stored? Your only task is to notice, to become an intimate cartographer of your own inner landscape. This is not a one-time exercise. This is a lifelong practice of homecoming. It is the slow, patient process of moving your center of gravity from the frantic chaos of your head to the quiet, solid ground of your body. It is learning to trust the wisdom that was encoded in you before you even had words. The answers you have been so desperately seeking in books, in philosophies, in the words of others, are also being broadcast continuously from within your own skin. The compass has been in your possession all along. Its needle is unwavering. Your work is not to find it, but to finally learn how to read it, to trust its quiet direction, and to follow it home. We have learned to listen for the truth in the body, that unerring compass pointing toward our inner north. Now we arrive at the most perilous and liberating territory of all. The willingness to see that truth, unvarnished and unfiltered. This is the practice of radical honesty with the self. It is the art of standing before the mirror of your own being, after you have wiped away all the dust of your excuses, all the steam of your wishful thinking, and all the flattering distortions of your ego. It is the willingness to look into your own eyes and see not who you wish you were, not who you pretend to be, but the person who is actually standing there. This practice is the foundation of all real transformation. For the first law of inner alchemy is this: you cannot change what you refuse to see. We are all master architects of self-deception. This is not a judgment. It is a diagnosis of the human condition. It is not a sign of weakness, but a testament to the mind's sophisticated and often misguided instinct for self-preservation. From a young age, we learn to build intricate structures of lies to protect ourselves from the harsh weather of reality. These are not grand, malicious falsehoods, but small, daily dishonesties that accumulate over time, brick by brick, until we are living inside a fortress of our own making, a prison we have mistaken for a sanctuary. We see this architecture in the noble excuse. We tell ourselves we are not avoiding the difficult work out of fear. We are merely waiting for a surge of inspiration. We are not failing to exercise because of sloth. We are practicing intuitive self-care. These narratives cast our weaknesses in a heroic light, allowing us to maintain our self-image while remaining stagnant. We see it in the blame narrative, where we cast ourselves as the blameless victim in the drama of our lives. My unhappiness is the fault of my parents, my partner, my job, the economy. This story is comforting because it absolves us of the terrifying burden of responsibility. If nothing is our fault, then nothing is within our power to change, and we can remain comfortably inert. We see it in the subtle art of minimization. That habit isn't a problem, it's just a way to unwind. That toxic relationship isn't that bad, we've had good times. We shrink the truth until it is small enough to step over, so we don't have to face the difficulty of dealing with it. These lies, these stories, are the lullabies we sing to ourselves to keep us asleep. The great inner conflict, the friction that generates so much of our anxiety, is the battle between the comfort of these lies and the bracing, often painful, clarity of the truth. The lie is a warm blanket on a cold night. It protects us from the chill of our own inadequacy, from the sharp wind of shame. To admit, I am not trying my best because I am terrified of discovering my best is not good enough, is a profoundly painful admission. It is far warmer, far cozier to say, the timing just isn't right. To acknowledge, I am staying in this situation not out of love, but out of a fear of being alone, is to face a terrifying void. It is much more comfortable to focus on the other person's flaws and our own noble sacrifice. The lie allows us to remain the hero of our story. The truth, in its brutal honesty, may require us to see ourselves as the coward, the fool, or even the villain. The practice of radical honesty is the choice to value freedom over comfort. It is the decision that you would rather be awake and shivering in the cold, hard reality than be asleep and warm in a comfortable dream. This brings us to the core, the unyielding heart of this work. You cannot heal a wound you pretend is not there. You cannot find your way out of a maze you refuse to admit you are in. You cannot strengthen a muscle you deny is weak. All change begins with a moment of clear seeing. This is the function of the mirror of truth. Imagine a mirror, forged not of silver and glass, but of pure awareness. It has no agenda, it has no opinion, it does not judge, it does not flatter. Its only quality is perfect, crystalline reflection. When you stand before it, it does not show you your potential. It does not show you your past. It simply shows you what is, right now. It reflects the fear in your eyes, the tension in your jaw, the slouch of defeat in your shoulders. It reflects your strength and your weakness with equal, indifferent clarity. Our life's work is to polish this mirror. Every excuse we make is another layer of dust. Every blame we cast is another smudge. Every time we turn away from an uncomfortable truth, we allow the steam of our denial to fog the surface. Radical honesty is the act of taking up the cloth of courage and wiping the mirror clean. The goal, at first, is not to like what you see. The goal is not even to change what you see. The initial and most difficult step is simply to look, to hold your own gaze without flinching, to let the full reality of your current state land in your awareness, to drop the stories, the justifications, the blame, and to simply say, with a kind of sober, heartbroken dignity, I see, this is how it is, this is what is true. In that moment of pure seeing, something miraculous happens. The energy we were using to maintain the lie, to hold up the facade, is liberated. And that liberated energy becomes the fuel for change. How do we practice this courageous act of seeing? We must turn the journal into an instrument of interrogation. This is not a diary to record the events of your day. It is a sacred space for a conversation with your deepest self. And you must ask the hard questions. At the end of the day, sit with a blank page and ask, what truth did I avoid today? What was I really afraid of when I made that choice to procrastinate, to placate, to retreat? What is the story I am telling myself about this situation? And what might be the reality that this story is designed to hide? In what way am I actively contributing to the exact circumstances I complain about? These questions are scalpels. They are designed to cut through the layers of protective tissue and expose the root of the issue. The process will be uncomfortable. You will feel resistance. Your mind will try to squirm away, to change the subject, to convince you this is morbid and unproductive. You must hold steady. Treat yourself with enough respect to believe you are strong enough to handle the answers. This is not an exercise in self-flagellation. It is an exercise in profound self-respect. It is the ultimate act of treating yourself like an adult, capable of taking full ownership of your life. The comfort of the lie is a small, cramped room. The truth, even when it is painful, is a door opening onto a vast, open landscape. Once you see the bars of the cage you have built for yourself, you can finally begin to study the lock. Once you admit that you are lost, you can finally pull out the compass and begin to look for a path. Until then, you are simply pretending you like the scenery where you are. The mirror of truth is not your judge. It is not your accuser. It is your most loyal and trusted ally. It is the only friend who will never lie to you. It contains the map of your own liberation. All that is asked of you is the raw, simple, and world-changing courage to look. You have stood before the mirror and had the courage to see what is true. You have felt the truth of your state in the honest archive of your body. You may now be asking, what now? I see the chaos. I feel the tension. I acknowledge the rough, unformed nature of my inner world. What do I do with it? How do I begin the work of change when the material itself seems so overwhelming, so solid, so resistant? You do not begin with a sledgehammer. You do not begin with force. You begin with the most humble, most powerful, and most overlooked tool in your possession. You begin with your breath. From the first cry that announces your arrival to the final exhalation that marks your departure, the breath is your constant companion. It is the unseen rhythm of your life, the gentle percussion beneath every thought, every feeling, every action. It is the first thing you are given and the last thing you will surrender. And yet, for most of your life, you have paid it no attention. You have treated it as a background function, an automatic process that runs the machine while the conscious mind is busy with more important matters. This is perhaps the greatest and most tragic oversight in our quest for self-mastery. For the breath is not just a biological function. It is the bridge between worlds. It is the seam that joins the conscious and the unconscious, the voluntary and the involuntary. It is the one place where your will and your animal nature can meet and shake hands. Consider this. You cannot consciously will your heart to beat slower. You cannot command your digestive system to relax. These are the realms of the autonomic nervous system, the deep, ancient part of you that operates without your permission. But the breath is different. It is the one autonomic function you can consciously pilot. At any given moment, you can take command. You can make it deeper or more shallow, faster or slower. This unique quality makes it the master key to your own nervous system, the direct interface with your inner state. This is not a mystical belief. It is a physiological fact. When you are anxious or angry, your breath automatically becomes short, shallow, and rapid, centered high in the chest. This is the signature of the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight response. This breathing pattern sends a direct signal to your brain: danger. In turn, your brain releases stress hormones, your muscles tighten, and your thoughts begin to race. Your breath dictates your state. Now, consider the reverse. When you deliberately slow your breath down, when you draw it deep into your belly, when you make your exhalation longer than your inhalation, you are manually engaging the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest response. You are sending a new, conscious signal to your brain. You are safe. The brain responds by reducing stress hormones, allowing the muscles to relax, and creating the space for the mind to become clear and calm. Your state follows your breath. The inner conflict, then, is a simple one. It is the choice between being the passenger and being the pilot of your own nervous system. For your entire life, you have been a passenger. Your emotions and external circumstances have been at the controls, dictating the rhythm and quality of your breath without your consent. A stressful email arrives, and the breath hitches. An angry driver cuts you off, and the breath becomes a sharp, fiery staccato. You are tossed about by the turbulence of your own reactions. The practice of conscious breathing is the moment you walk into the cockpit of your own being and gently, firmly, place your hands on the controls. It is the radical act of deciding that you will no longer allow your inner state to be dictated by the chaos of the world. Instead, you will use the one tool you have to create a state of calm from which to engage with the world. This is where we embrace the metaphor of the breath as a chisel. Your raw inner state, the anxiety, the fear, the mental noise you saw in the mirrors, like a great, rough block of marble. It seems impenetrable, overwhelming, and fixed in its form. You cannot attack it with force. You cannot shatter it with anger or frustration, for that only creates more jagged edges. You cannot simply wish it were a polished statue. That is the fantasy of a child. You must become a sculptor, and the breath is your finest, most precise chisel. Each conscious breath is one tap of the chisel against the stone. One slow, deliberate inhalation is a single focused tap. One long, complete exhalation is another. A single tap does almost nothing. The change is imperceptible. You look at the great block of stone and see no difference. This is where most people give up. They want a sledgehammer. They want immediate results. But the sculptor knows that mastery lies in patience. She knows that it is the accumulation of thousands upon thousands of small, precise, intentional taps, applied over time, day after day, that carves away the excess. It is this patient work that smooths the rough surfaces, that defines the elegant lines, that slowly, methodically, reveals the serene and powerful form that was always hidden within the raw material. You do not fight the stone. You sculpt it, and you sculpt it breath by breath. Let us learn to use this tool with skill. There is a simple, ancient, and profoundly effective technique that builds a container for your energy. It is often called box breathing. Think of it as forging a perfect square of stillness in the center of your being. Let us try it now. Wherever you are, simply allow your body to be still for a moment. First, gently exhale all the air from your lungs. And we begin. Inhale slowly through your nose as you silently count to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Feel your belly and chest expand. Now, hold the breath at the top. A gentle hold, not a forceful clamping. Hold for a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Be still in the fullness. Now, exhale slowly and completely through your mouth or nose, a full release. Let it all go. For a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now, hold the breath out at the bottom. Be still in the emptiness, in the quiet, for a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That is one cycle. That is the forging of one square. The inhale gathers your energy. The hold focuses it. The exhale releases what is no longer needed. The hold in the emptiness is a moment of pure, peaceful surrender. Do this for just 2 or 3 minutes. Do it before a difficult meeting. Do it when you feel the tide of anger rising. Do it in the middle of the night when your thoughts are racing. Do not do it to achieve a mystical state. Do it as a practical, physiological intervention. Do it to pilot your own nervous system. You are not a victim of your inner world. You are its primary architect, its creator, its sculptor. The raw material may be difficult, the stone may be hard and unforgiving after years of neglect, but the tool is always in your hand. It is as close as your next breath. It costs nothing. It requires no one's permission. It is yours. The great block of your consciousness is before you, waiting. The chisel rises and falls with every beat of your heart, with every cycle of air. Begin the work. Tap by tap, breath by breath. Sculpt the peace you so desperately seek. You have walked the inner landscape. You have sat in the deafening silence. You have faced the ghosts of your past and the tyrants of your future. You have learned to accept what is, to be honest with yourself, and to use your very breath as a tool to sculpt your inner state. You may have found, in this practice, a new kind of quiet, a space of clarity that was previously unimaginable. This is a profound achievement, but it is not the destination. It is the starting line. The quiet mind is not the goal. It is the clean, well-lit workshop where the real work can now begin. And the great danger of this newfound peace is that it can become a beautiful, comfortable room in which you decide to do nothing. The work of looking inward is finished for now. The work of moving outward is about to begin. It begins with a single intentional act. We stand at the precipice of action and find ourselves frozen. This is the great paralysis of the modern soul. We know what we want. We have the dream, the goal, the vision of a better self. We have read the books, we have made the plans, we have filled our minds with strategies for change, and yet we do not move. We remain stuck in the swamp of preparation, waiting for a sign, for a perfect moment, for a tidal wave of motivation to carry us forward. This paralysis is born of a trinity of illusions. First is the tyranny of the perfect plan. We believe that before we can take the first step, we must have the entire journey mapped out to the final destination. We must know the answer to every potential problem, a contingency for every possible failure. We spend weeks, months, even years, drawing our maps, and in our obsession with the map, we forget that its only purpose is to guide our feet. A perfect map of a journey you never take is just a piece of paper. This obsession with planning is not prudence, it is fear, dressed in the respectable clothes of strategy. Second is the myth of mystical motivation. We wait for a feeling. We believe that one day we will wake up and be a different person. A person for whom the hard work feels easy. A person who is suddenly imbued with limitless energy and unbreakable focus. We wait to feel like it. This is a childish fantasy. Motivation is not a lightning strike from the heavens. It is not a prerequisite for action. It is the child of action. The feeling comes after the doing, not before. To wait for motivation to get you started is like a cold car waiting for its engine to warm up before it will agree to turn over. Third is the overwhelm of the summit. We stand at the base of the mountain of our ambition and crane our necks to look at the peak, shrouded in clouds. We see the thousands of steps, the treacherous ridges, the sheer scale of the climb, and our spirits collapse. The goal seems so vast, so distant, and our own resources so small that the very thought of the journey is exhausting. And so, paralyzed by the enormity of the whole, we fail to take the single, simple step that is right in front of us. The inner conflict here is one of scale. It is the battle between the grand, heroic gesture and the small, humble act. The ego loves the grand gesture. It wants the story of the overnight success, the dramatic, life-altering decision that changed everything in an instant. It wants the cinematic montage. But life is not a film. Real change is almost always invisible, unglamorous, and incremental. It is the accumulation of thousands of tiny, seemingly insignificant choices. The ego dismisses the tiny act. What is the point of writing one sentence? Of washing one dish? Of walking for 5 minutes? It feels like nothing. And so, waiting for the strength to perform the grand gesture, we do nothing at all. This is the trap. You must betray your ego's desire for drama and embrace the quiet, profound power of the almost nothing. For this is the core of all creation, the law of all beginnings. The largest fire begins with a single spark. The most powerful river is born from a single drop of water. The greatest journey starts with one step. All the potential of the bonfire is contained in that first, tiny, flickering point of light. Imagine a forest after a great fire, a landscape of black and gray silence. It seems utterly devoid of life and warmth. But deep inside a fallen log, protected from the wind, one single ember glows. It is a tiny red eye in a universe of darkness. It is fragile. A single drop of rain could extinguish it. A gust of wind could scatter its precious heat. It is by itself almost nothing. But it is not nothing. It is everything. It is the promise. It is the memory of the last fire and the seed of the next. Your first intentional action is that ember. Your work is not to build a raging bonfire from a state of cold inertia. Your work is simply to create and protect that one single precious ember. How do we do this? We must adopt a new law, a law of physics for overcoming the inertia of the soul. It is the 2-minute rule. The rule is this: if a task on your path takes less than 2 minutes to complete, you must do it immediately, not later, not when you feel like it. Now, without debate, without negotiation. The mind is not consulted. The action is simply taken. Put your running shoes by the door. That takes less than 2 minutes. Do it now. Wash the single cup sitting by the sink. 2 minutes. Do it now. Send the one-sentence email you have been avoiding. 2 minutes. Do it now. Roll out your yoga mat. Do one stretch. Meditate for 1 minute, which is to say, take 5 conscious breaths. Write one single, true sentence in your journal. The point here is not productivity. This is not a life hack to get more done. This is a spiritual practice. This is the practice of building momentum. You are rewiring the very neurology of your being, closing the gap between intention and execution until it is non-existent. Each tiny action completed is a small, gentle puff of air on that first ember. With each puff, it glows a little brighter. You are not trying to start a fire. You are just trying to keep the ember from dying. You have been waiting for the feeling of motivation to arrive before you act. You must now understand that this is backward. Action is the kindling. Action is the wood. The fire of motivation is generated by the friction of doing. When you complete one small task, you get a tiny spark of satisfaction, of self-respect. That spark makes the next small task slightly easier. Completing that second task creates a slightly larger spark. This is the physics of starting. You are not waiting for the fire. You are building it, spark by spark. The universe does not respond to your thoughts, your wishes, or your elaborate plans. It responds to your actions. The world is shaped by those who do, not by those who intend to do. The time for introspection, for planning, for waiting is over. The clean, quiet workshop of your mind is prepared. The tools are laid out. All that is missing is the first spark of creation. Look around you now. What is the 2-minute action you can take that will move you, even by 1 millimeter, in the direction of the self you wish to become? Identify it and do it. Do not think. Do not hesitate. Move. Create one spark. Nurture one ember. That is all that is asked of you. Begin. You have created a spark. With a single, small, intentional act, you have breathed life into an ember in the darkness. But an ember left alone in the vast, open field of your life is a fragile thing. The winds of impulse will buffet it. The rains of distraction will threaten to extinguish it. An ember, to become a fire, needs a structure. It needs a hearth, a carefully constructed fireplace where its heat can be focused, contained, and protected, allowing it to grow into a steady, self-sustaining flame. That structure, that hearth for the fire of your intention, is habit. We are all creatures of habit. Whether you see yourself as a disciplined person or a free spirit, the truth is that the vast majority of your life is run by automatic scripts. The path you take to work, the way you brush your teeth, the first application you open on your phone when you feel a pang of boredom, these are not conscious choices. They are well-worn neural pathways, grooves carved into your mind by repetition. You are, at this very moment, living within an architecture of habit. This architecture is invisible, but it is as real as the walls of the room you are in. It dictates the shape of your days, the quality of your health, the focus of your mind, and ultimately, the trajectory of your life. The only question is not whether you will have habits. The only question is whether you will be the conscious architect of those habits or a passive inhabitant of a structure built by accident, impulse, and chance. We often resist the idea of routine and structure. We cling to a romantic notion of freedom as pure, untethered spontaneity. The ego loves this idea. It wants to believe it is above the mundane repetition of a schedule. It wants to be a wild river, flowing wherever it pleases. But a river without banks is not a river. It is a swamp. It is a stagnant, marshy, and directionless body of water. The banks, the structure, do not imprison the river. They give it its power. They give it its direction, its speed, its ability to carve canyons and nourish landscapes. The structure is what creates the freedom to flow with force and purpose. The person who is a slave to their moods, impulses, and external triggers is not free. They are the swamp. The person who has consciously built a structure of supportive habits is the river. Their habits are the banks that guide their energy, freeing them from the constant, draining work of making small decisions, so they can direct their full power toward the things that truly matter. The inner conflict, then, is between the short-term desire for the illusion of freedom and the long-term wisdom of building a structure that creates real freedom. It is the resistance of the lazy part of you against the architect within. When you decide to build a new habito, wake earlier, to exercise, to meditate, you will feel this resistance. It will feel like a cage. It will feel unnatural and rigid. Your mind will tell you that you are losing your spontaneity, that you are becoming a robot. You must see this resistance for what it is, the complaint of the swamp as the banks are being built. It is the protest of the part of you that wants to remain stagnant against the part of you that is trying to build the capacity for flow. Here is the core message you must internalize. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. This is not a metaphor. It is the literal mechanism of identity formation. When you choose to scroll through your phone instead of reading a book, you have cast a vote for person who is easily distracted. When you choose the convenient, unhealthy meal over the one that requires a little effort, you cast a vote for person who does not prioritize their health. Conversely, every time you keep the 2-minute promise to yourself, you cast a vote for person who has integrity. Every time you sit in silence for 1 minute, you cast a vote for person who values peace. Your identity is not something you decide upon. It is something you accumulate. It is the sum total of your habits. You are not building a personality. You are casting ballots day after day, and the winner of that election becomes you. Let us return to the metaphor of architecture. You are building the house of your character. Every habit is a material you choose to build with. Are you using strong, solid bricks, laid with care and precision, Or are you using cracked, crumbling stones tossed together haphazardly? A house built with poor materials and sloppy craftsmanship may stand for a while on a calm day. But when the storms of life arrive, and they will arrive, it will crumble. The process of building with good materials is slow and unglamorous. Laying a single, perfect brick is not exciting. No one will applaud you for it. After laying a dozen bricks, you do not yet have a house. All you have is a low wall. This is where most people abandon the project. They cannot see the finished structure, and they lose faith in the process. But the master builder knows that the great cathedral is nothing more than the patient accumulation of single stones, laid perfectly, one after another. Your work is not to build a cathedral today. Your work is to lay one brick correctly. How do we do this in the most intelligent way? We use a technique called habit stacking. You do not need to find new energy and motivation for every new habit. That is exhausting. Instead, you cleverly attach a new habit to a pre-existing one, leveraging the momentum of a road you have already paved. The formula is simple. After current habit, I will new habit. Your brain has already carved a deep neural pathway for the current habit, so you are simply adding a small new destination at the end of an already busy highway. The key is to make the new habit, the new brick, incredibly small. Let us apply this. Your current habit is, you make a cup of coffee every morning. That is a deep, well-worn groove. Now, you stack a new habit onto it. After I press the start button on my coffee maker, I will do 1 minute of mindful breathing. Your current habit is, you take off your shoes when you get home from work. Now you stack. After I take off my shoes, I will immediately change into my workout clothes. You are not yet working out. You are just laying the next brick. You are making the next right choice impossibly easy. Your current habit is, you brush your teeth before bed. Now you stack. After I put my toothbrush down, I will open the book on my nightstand. You are not committing to read a chapter. You are just opening the book. You are laying one perfect brick. This is the art of building an architecture of excellence, not through superhuman willpower, but through intelligent, patient design. Look at your life today. You are already living in a house. Did you build it consciously, or did you just wake up one day and find yourself inside it? Are the walls strong? Does the roof leak? Is it a place that shelters and strengthens you, or is it a prison that confines you? You have the power to renovate. You have the power to rebuild, brick by brick. Your life is your greatest masterpiece, your most important construction. Your habits are your building materials. Today, you are both the architect and the builder. Design the life you want, and then have the patience to build it, one small, deliberate, and powerful habit at a time. Pick up a single brick, lay it perfectly. That is all that is required. You have begun the work. You are laying the bricks of new habits, forging a new spine of discipline, creating a structure for a new life. In the calm, clear light of your intention, it can feel as though you are finally building a fortress of peace, a high-walled garden where only order and serenity can grow. It is a beautiful vision, and it is an illusion. To believe that this path leads to a life free from pain, a permanent state of sunshine, is to set yourself up for a profound disappointment. The goal of this work is not to control the weather of your life. The goal is to become the sailor who no longer fears the storm. Sooner or later, the sky will darken, the wind will howl, and the waves of difficult emotion will rise. Anger, grief, fear, jealousy, despair, these are not interruptions to the path. They are the path. For most of our lives, we have been taught two strategies for dealing with emotional storms, and both are failures. The first is the strategy of suppression. This is the attempt to build a dam against the river of your feelings. When a wave of sadness or anger approaches, you tell yourself, I shouldn't feel this way. I need to be strong. I need to be positive. You push it down, you ignore it. You distract yourself with work, with food, with entertainment, with any substance or activity that will numb the feeling. You become a tireless engineer, constantly patching the dam, reinforcing the walls, holding back the immense pressure of your own emotional truth. This requires a tremendous, constant expenditure of energy, and it never truly works. The river is always pushing, the pressure always builds. It may leak out as chronic anxiety, as a persistent irritability, as a physical illness, or one day, the dam will burst, and a lifetime of suppressed emotion will rush out in a single destructive flood, sweeping you and those around you away. The second failed strategy is the opposite. It is the strategy of identification. This is the act of drowning. When the wave of sadness comes, you do not just feel sad. You become sadness itself. When anger rises, you do not just feel anger. You are anger. You fuse completely with the emotion. There is no separation, no perspective. You are the storm. You are tossed and thrown by every wave, completely at the mercy of its violent, chaotic energy. Your thoughts are the thoughts of the storm. Your actions are the actions of the storm. In this state, you say things you do not mean. You break things you value. You damage the very fabric of your life. You have abdicated all control, all wisdom, and have given yourself over completely to the temporary madness of the weather. Both strategies, the damming and the drowning, are born from the same root, a deep and profound fear of our own feelings. The true inner conflict is a test of courage. It is the battle between the ingrained fear of feeling and the quiet, revolutionary courage to witness. We are terrified that our emotions will destroy us. We believe that if we allow ourselves to truly touch the molten core of our anger, we will become a monster. We believe that if we surrender to the full depth of our grief, we will fall into a bottomless abyss and never stop crying. This terror is what forces us to choose between the dam or the drowning. But there is a third way. It is the way of the witness. It is the courage to sit on the shore and allow the wave to crash, to feel its spray on your face without either trying to stop it or letting it pull you under. It is the willingness to be the container for the emotion rather than its captive. It is the radical trust that you are, and always will be, larger than any feeling that passes through you. Here is the most freeing truth you can embrace on this path. You are the sky, and the emotion is the weather. This is the core message that will allow you to navigate any storm. Think of this. The sky itself is vast, open, boundless, and aware. It is fundamentally peaceful. Within this sky, all kinds of weather arise. Dark clouds gather, rain pours down, lightning flashes, the wind roars. The storm can be violent and terrifying. But the sky is not the storm. The sky is not damaged by the storm. The sky is not changed by the storm. It is simply the vast, unchanging space in which the storm is allowed to happen. And then, the storm passes. The clouds break, and the sun shines through. The sky does not become the sun. It is simply the space in which the sun shines. And then the sun sets, and the moon and stars appear. Your awareness, that deep core part of you that is reading these words, is the sky. Your thoughts, your feelings, your sensations, they are the weather. Anger is a thunderstorm. Sadness is a long, slow rain. Joy is a bright, sunny day. They all arise within you, and they all pass. The great spiritual error is to believe that you are the weather. The practice is to remember that you are the sky. How do we do this in the midst of a gale? We need a practical shelter, a method for staying grounded when the winds are high. There is a simple, beautiful practice for this. It is called rain. It is a 4-step process for bringing mindful, compassionate awareness to our emotional life. The R stands for recognize. The moment you feel a difficult emotion begin to rise, you simply, gently name it to yourself. Ah, this is anger. Sadness is present. Hello, fear. I see you. This simple act of recognition creates a crucial sliver of space between you, the sky, and the emotion, the weather. You are not the anger. You are the one who is recognizing the anger. The A stands for allow. This is the opposite of resistance. You give the feeling permission to be there. You stop fighting it. You drop the internal argument that says, I shouldn't feel this. You can say to yourself, it's okay. Let it be here for a moment. This is the brave and compassionate act of lowering the dam and letting the river flow, trusting that it will not drown you. The I stands for investigate. This is not a mental analysis of why you are feeling this way. It is an embodied investigation of what it feels like. With a gentle, non-judgmental curiosity, you turn your attention inward. Where do you feel this anger in your body? Is it a hot pressure in your chest, a tightness in your fists? What is the actual physical texture of this sadness? Is it a heavy ache, a hollow emptiness? You are moving your attention from the story in your mind to the raw sensation in your body, grounding yourself in the truth of the present moment. And finally, the N stands for nurture. After you have recognized, allowed, and investigated the feeling, you offer yourself a gesture of kindness. You are in a state of suffering. What is needed now is not judgment, but compassion. You might place a hand over your heart. You might whisper to yourself, this is so hard right now. May I be kind to myself. You are bringing the warmth of the sun to the rain cloud. You are treating yourself as you would treat a beloved friend who is in pain. The storms will keep coming. Life will guarantee you loss, heartbreak, and disappointment. That is not the variable. You are the variable. Through this work, you cease to be a terrified victim of your own inner weather. You become a seasoned mariner of the soul. You learn to read the clouds, to respect the power of the waves, but to never forget the vast, peaceful sky of your own true nature. You develop a quiet confidence that you can navigate whatever comes because you know that you are not the storm. And you know with an unshakable certainty that every storm, no matter how fierce, eventually passes. You have learned to sit with the weather of your own soul. You have weathered the internal storms of anger and grief, not by fighting them, not by drowning in them, but by becoming the vast, open sky in which they are allowed to pass. But the moment you step out into the world, you encounter another kind of weather. This weather does not arise from within you. It blows upon you from all directions. It is the ceaseless, shifting, and powerful wind of other people's opinions. Their praise, their criticism, their expectations, their judgments. For many, this external wind is more terrifying than any internal storm. It threatens to knock us off our path, to bend us to its will, to uproot us entirely. We cannot stop this wind from blowing. It is a fundamental condition of living in a world with other people. The work, then, is not to command the wind. The work is to grow roots so deep that the wind, no matter how fiercely it blows, is no longer a threat. This need for approval, this terror of judgment, is not a shallow vanity. It is one of the deepest and most primal instincts we possess. For our ancient ancestors, living in small, interdependent tribes, social acceptance was not a luxury. It was a matter of life and death. To be approved of by the tribe was to have access to food, to shelter, to protection. To be judged, rejected, and cast out was a death sentence. That ancient, mortal fear is encoded in your DNA. It is a ghost that still haunts your modern nervous system. Though you no longer face mortal peril from a tribe's disapproval, your body does not know this. A critical comment, a dismissive look, the feeling of being excluded, these things can trigger that same primal alarm bell. And so, we adapt. We learn to perform. We become human chameleons, subconsciously scanning every room we enter, trying to discern the dominant color so that we can blend in. We soften our sharp edges. We silence our controversial thoughts. We laugh at jokes we do not find funny. We pursue goals that were planted in our minds by our parents, by our culture, by the advertisements we see. We trade the gold of our authenticity for the cheap currency of a like, a nod of approval, a word of praise. And we live with the low-grade, constant anxiety of an actor on a stage, terrified of flubbing a line, of letting the mask slip, of the audience discovering that we are not who we are pretending to be. This is an exhausting, soul-crushing way to live. It is to be a leaf, torn from its branch, tossed about by every passing breeze. The great inner conflict you must now navigate is a choice of allegiance. Will you tune your life to the loud, chaotic, and ever-changing frequency of the external world? Or will you commit to listening to the quiet, steady, and sometimes unsettling frequency of your own inner truth? The external world is an echo chamber. When you conform, it echoes back with praise and rewards, giving you a warm but conditional sense of belonging. When you dare to deviate, it echoes back with criticism, confusion, or worst of all, silence. It pressures you to return to the center, to the safety of the herd. Your inner voice, your authentic self, does not operate this way. It does not shout. It does not offer rewards or threaten punishment. It speaks in the quiet language of feeling that you have been learning to hear, a feeling of rightness, of expansion, of peace when you are on your true path, a feeling of contraction, of unease, of inner friction when you are not. To heed this voice often means you must disappoint someone. It means you must be misunderstood. It means choosing a path that your family, your friends, and your society may not validate, celebrate, or even comprehend. The conflict is between the immediate safety of the echo chamber and the long-term integrity of your own soul. It is the choice between being liked and being whole. Here is the central truth that will become your anchor in this wind. A tree with deep roots does not fear the storm. Imagine a young sapling in an open field. Its roots are shallow, tentative. When a strong gust of wind comes, it is thrown into a panic. Its entire being is consumed with resisting the wind, with bending just enough not to break. Its survival depends entirely on the mercy of the weather. Now, imagine a great ancient oak in that same field. The wind howls. The oak does not ignore the wind. It feels it. Its leaves rustle. Its smaller branches sway. It is in relationship with the wind, but it is not afraid. Its core is still. Its stability does not come from the thickness of its trunk, but from what is unseen, the vast, intricate, powerful network of roots that grips the deep earth. Those roots are its anchor. They are its nourishment. They are its unshakable connection to its own source of strength. Your work is to become this tree. Your work is not to fight the wind of opinion, nor is it to pretend the wind doesn't exist. Your work is to turn your attention away from the branches and toward the roots. What are these roots? They are your core values, clarified and committed to. They are your self-knowledge, born from the honest mirror. They are your integrity, built brick by brick through kept promises. They are your connection to your own purpose, your own why. When you are deeply rooted in these things, the opinions of others change in their nature. They are no longer threats to your existence. They are simply weather. Praise is a warm, sunny breeze. It feels pleasant, but you do not depend on it for your growth. Criticism is a cold, biting wind. It feels uncomfortable, but it does not shake your foundation. It may even be useful, showing you a weak branch that needs pruning. But in either case, you are not uprooted. You are not thrown into a panic. You remain centered, grounded, and secure in your own patch of earth. To cultivate this rootedness, you must adopt a practice of intentional inquiry. You must install a compass at the base of your decision-making. Before you take a significant action, before you make a choice, before you say yes or no, you must pause. You must close the door to the echo chamber of the world and ask yourself, with the radical honesty you have been practicing, am I doing this because it is deeply and truly aligned with my own values and my own path? Or am I doing this because of how it will be perceived by others? Am I pursuing this goal for the satisfaction of the work itself or for the applause I hope to receive at the end? Am I building my own house? Or am I merely an actor, performing for an audience? This is not a call to become a selfish hermit. deaf to the needs and feelings of others. A deeply rooted tree is not isolated. It is a vital part of an ecosystem. This is a call to ensure that your actions come from a place of authentic, centered strength, not from a place of fearful, approval-seeking weakness. An act of kindness that comes from your own sovereign center has a power and purity that an act performed for validation can never have. When you are a sapling, the sound of the wind is a terrifying roar that threatens to overwhelm you. But when you have grown your roots, a change occurs. The sound of the wind is no longer a threat. It is just a sound. It is the music of the world passing through your leaves. You can feel it, you can hear it, you can even learn from it, but you are no longer defined by it. You are no longer swayed. You are simply here, present, strong, rooted in the unshakable truth of your own being. You have learned to stand firm against the winds of external opinion. You have cultivated roots deep enough to hold you steady. Now you must venture into a landscape that most people spend their entire lives trying to avoid. A landscape they have been taught to fear more than any storm. It is the vast, silent, and profoundly misunderstood territory of being alone. Our world has waged a war on aloneness. It has been pathologized, branded with the terrifying name of loneliness, and presented as a state of failure, of being unwanted, of ultimate human tragedy. We are conditioned from birth to believe that our wholeness is found in another, that our worth is reflected in the eyes of the crowd, and so we flee from silence. We fill every empty moment with noise, with chatter, with the endless scroll of digital ghosts, terrified of what we might find if we were ever left in the quiet company of the only person we can never truly leave, ourselves. This flight is not a simple preference for company. It is a desperate escape. When the external noise dies down, the internal noise begins to rise. In the stillness, we are forced to hear the whispers we have been successfully drowning out. The whisper of our unmet needs, of our unfulfilled potential, of our quiet anxieties, of the truths we have been unwilling to face. Being alone feels dangerous because it removes the buffer between us and us. We use other people not just for connection, but as shields, as distractions, as human insulation against the raw, unfiltered experience of our own consciousness. We measure our existence by the invitations we receive, the messages in our inbox, the plans on our calendar. An empty evening is not seen as an opportunity for peace, but as a judgment on our social value. We have become so terrified of the perceived void that we fill our lives with anything, with anyone, just so we do not have to sit in it. The inner conflict here is one of the most fundamental a human can face. It is the choice between connection born of neediness and connection born of wholeness. The part of you that fears being alone is the wounded part, the child part. It believes it is a half, searching for its other half to feel complete. It clings, it compromises, it performs. It will do almost anything to avoid the feeling of abandonment. This part drives you into relationships and social situations that may not nourish you, simply because the alternative seems so much worse. Then there is another voice, a quieter one, that beckons you in the opposite direction. It calls you away from the crowd, away from the noise. It invites you into the silence. It invites you to undertake the difficult, often painful, but ultimately liberating work of becoming whole on your own. This is the conflict between filling the void from the outside in or learning to radiate from the inside out. It is the choice between a life spent seeking a reflection and a life spent building a source of light. To make this choice, you must redraw your map of the world. You must understand the vast difference between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness is the poverty of self. Solitude is the richness of self. Loneliness is the pain of being alone. Solitude is the glory of being alone. Loneliness is a state of lack, a gnawing hunger for someone else to come and validate your existence. Solitude is a state of overflowing abundance, a quiet, solid sense of your own presence. Loneliness is involuntary. Solitude is a choice. and it is the most powerful choice you can make on the path to becoming a sovereign being. Let us use a new metaphor. Solitude is a vast, silent, majestic landscape. Think of a great, sweeping desert at dawn, or a high mountain plateau under a canopy of stars. From a distance, to the uninitiated eye, these places look empty, barren, and hostile. The mind, conditioned by the crowd, looks upon this landscape and sees only absence. An absence of people, of noise, of distraction. It projects its own fear onto the landscape and calls it loneliness. It sees a wasteland and turns away in terror. But the one who has the courage to step into this landscape discovers a truth the crowd can never know. The desert is not empty. It is full of subtle life, of profound silence, of stark, clean beauty. The mountain is not barren. It is solid, ancient, and closer to the stars than any other place on earth. In the landscape of solitude, the clutter of the world falls away. The incessant noise of other people's needs and opinions fades to nothing. The air is so clear you can see for 100 miles. And in this silence, for the first time, you can hear the sound of your own heart beating. You can feel the rhythm of your own breath. You can see the landscape of your own mind without distortion. This is not emptiness. This is clarity. This is not an absence. It is the profound and unshakable presence of your own self. This is not loneliness. This is sovereignty. To stand in the middle of this landscape, comfortable and at peace in your own company, is to be the king or queen of your own inner kingdom. How do you learn to enter and inhabit this kingdom? You must practice. You must train yourself to be alone, just as you would train a muscle. You must schedule deliberate, intentional appointments with yourself. This is not simply me time spent consuming entertainment. That is just another form of distraction. This is dedicated time for communion with the self, without any external input. Start small, take yourself on a date, go to a coffee shop, bring a notebook, but not your phone. Your mission is not to write, but simply to sit, to be. To observe the world from the quiet center of your own being, without the need to share the experience, to post about it, to mediate it through a screen. Feel the discomfort that arises, the urge to check your phone, to look busy. This is the detox, the withdrawal from the addiction of constant connection. Breathe through it. Let it pass. Go for a walk in nature and leave your headphones at home. Listen to the wind, to the birds, to the sound of your own footsteps on the earth. Allow yourself to be just another creature, moving through the world, complete in your own existence. Visit a museum or an art gallery alone. Stand before a piece of art and let it speak directly to you, without the filter of a companion's opinion. As you practice this, something remarkable will happen. The landscape that once seemed so terrifying will begin to feel like home. The silence that was once deafening will become a source of peace and clarity. You will find that you enjoy your own company, and when this happens, your relationship with the entire world changes. You will no longer enter social situations with the desperate hunger of a beggar. You will enter them with the calm, generous spirit of a sovereign. You will connect with others, not to fill a void within yourself, but to share the abundance you have discovered in your own solitude. The fear of being alone will evaporate, and with its disappearance, you will find you are finally free. Free to choose your relationships based on true resonance, not on need. Free to leave situations that do not honor you. Free to be your authentic self, knowing that even if the whole world walks away, you will be left in the best of company. You have weathered the storms of your own heart and stood firm against the winds of external opinion. You have found a quiet strength in the landscape of your own solitude. A question naturally arises in this newfound stillness. What now? What is this sovereignty for? It is easy to mistake this inner peace for the final destination, to build a comfortable home in your own solitude and never venture out. But this inner work is not for the purpose of a peaceful retreat from the world. It is to build a solid foundation from which you can now engage with the world with power and intention. And the most direct path to that engagement, the most potent cure for the modern ailment of aimlessness, is to pick up a tool and learn to use it with mastery. It is the path of sharpening your axe. We live in an age of the great, restless search for purpose. We treat it like a hidden treasure, a singular, magical calling that, once discovered, will illuminate our entire lives and make all our efforts feel effortless. We read books, we go to seminars, we ask the universe, what am I meant to do? This search, while born of a noble hunger for meaning, is often profoundly misguided. It encourages us to be passive receivers, waiting for a lightning bolt of cosmic clarity. But purpose is rarely a lightning bolt. Purpose is not something you find. Purpose is something you forge. You forge it in the hot, difficult, and deeply satisfying crucible of mastering a skill. The modern mind suffers from the dilettante's curse. We are drowning in a sea of infinite choice and tantalizing novelty. We are encouraged to dabble. We pick up a guitar and learn 3 chords. We download an app and learn 50 words of a new language. We watch a video and try a new craft. But the moment the steep, exciting incline of the beginner's learning curve flattens out into the long, arduous plateau of the intermediate, we lose interest. The work becomes difficult, the progress slows, and the siren song of a new, easier hobby calls to us. We abandon the guitar for the keyboard, the language for the coding course. Our lives become a collection of unfinished projects and superficial competencies. We know a little about a lot, but we have mastery over nothing. And in this shallow, scattered existence, we feel a deep, gnawing dissatisfaction, a sense of being busy, but never truly building anything of substance. This is the curse of the dabbler. A life lived horizontally, forever skating across the surface, too afraid of the effort required to drill down deep. The inner conflict here is between the easy seduction of novelty and the difficult dignity of mastery. Starting something new provides a quick and potent hit of pleasure. The initial progress is rapid and feels wonderful. It affirms our sense of talent and potential. The path to mastery, however, is different. It is not always exciting. It is often a path of relentless, frustrating repetition. It is the musician practicing scales for the 1,000th time. It is the writer rewriting the same sentence 20 times. It is the athlete running the same drill until their body aches. This is the sharpening of the axe. It is not glamorous. It does not provide a quick hit of satisfaction. The ego rebels against it. This is boring, it says. I'm not making progress, it whines. Let's try something new. The conflict is a choice between the fleeting pleasure of the beginner and the profound, abiding self-respect of the craftsman. It is the choice to push through the long plateau of boredom and frustration to reach the breathtaking vista of true competence that lies on the other side. Here is the truth that can anchor you against the tide of distraction. Meaning is a byproduct of dedication. Purpose is not the grand calling you are looking for. It is the quiet, calloused, handed master you become through your commitment to a craft. There is a famous saying attributed to Abraham Lincoln, "Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree and I will spend the first 4 sharpening the axe." The average person, fueled by frantic energy and a desire for immediate results, would grab the axe and start swinging wildly at the tree. Their first few blows might make an impact, but soon the dull blade would begin to bounce off the wood. Their energy would be wasted. They would become exhausted and frustrated, likely giving up and blaming the axe or the hardness of the tree. The wise person, the craftsman, understands that the most important work is not the swinging, but the sharpening. The axe is your skill. It is your ability to write, to speak, to code, to design, to build, to listen, to parent, to lead. Sharpening the axe is the deliberate, focused, often solitary work you do to improve that skill. It is the unseen hours. It is the mindful repetition. It is the study of the masters who came before you. It is the ruthless elimination of your own weaknesses. The world only sees the tree falling. It applauds the final dramatic result. But the craftsman finds their dignity and their purpose, not in the fall of the tree, but in the quiet, meditative, and disciplined process of sharpening the steel. They know that a sharp axe makes the hard work of chopping smooth and effective. How then do you begin to sharpen your axe? You must create a sacred space in your life, a container for your focus. You must choose one skill, not 3, not 5, one. The one that calls to you, the one whose tools feel right in your hands, and you must dedicate a small, protected, non-negotiable block of time to it every single day. Let us call it the sacred hour, though it may only be 30 minutes. During this time, the world is shut out. Your phone is in another room, turned off. Your email is closed. Your door is shut. There are no distractions. There is only you, the axe, and the whetstone. And in this time, you do not just repeat your craft mindlessly. You practice deliberately. This means you are focused, you are present, and you are working at the very edge of your current abilities. You are not just playing the song you already know. You are struggling with the difficult passage that trips you up. You are not just writing what is easy. You are tackling the sentence that you cannot seem to get right. You are leaning into the discomfort. You are paying attention to your mistakes and making small, intelligent adjustments. This focused, deliberate effort is what sharpens the blade. You must stop looking to the sky and asking the universe for your purpose. You reveal your purpose to the universe through your actions. Your dedication becomes your declaration. The relentless focus on your craft becomes the answer to the question you have been asking. The dignity you discover in this process, the quiet confidence that grows from genuine competence, is more fulfilling than any abstract sense of purpose you could ever hope to find. It is real. It is earned. It is yours. Your purpose is not a mystery to be solved. It is a cathedral to be built, one stone at a time. The frantic search is over. The real work begins. Choose your craft. Pick up your axe. The sharpening is the meditation. The focused work is the prayer. And the slow, steady journey toward mastery is the only meaning you will ever need. You have chosen your craft. You have felt the profound satisfaction of sharpening your axe, of dedicating yourself to the deliberate practice of a skill. In this dedication, you may have felt a flicker of something you have been searching for all along, a sense of meaning, a sense of rightness. This naturally leads us to the great, heavy question that looms over the modern world, like a storm cloud. What is my purpose? We carry this question like a burden, believing it is a puzzle we must solve, a single, correct answer we must find and declare to the world. We believe our life cannot truly begin until we have discovered this grand, overarching theme. This belief, this desperate search for a final destination, is the source of a unique and profound paralysis. Today, we will not try to answer that question. Today, we will dismantle it. For generations, we have been taught to think of purpose as a noun. It is a destination on a map, a job title, a specific, measurable achievement. My purpose is to be a doctor. My purpose is to become a famous artist. My purpose is to start a nonprofit. We orient our entire lives toward this fixed point on the horizon, believing that our arrival at that destination will finally bestow upon us a lasting sense of meaning and fulfillment. But this model of purpose is a fragile and dangerous architecture for a life. Consider its flaws. What happens if you achieve your stated purpose at the age of 45? Do you then live out the rest of your days in a state of anticlimax, your great work behind you? What if circumstances beyond your control, an illness, an economic collapse, a shift in your own desires, prevent you from ever reaching that destination? Is your entire life therefore a failure? What if you arrive at the destination you worked so hard for, only to find that it feels hollow, that it was not the promised land you imagined? This destination-based model of purpose is rigid. It is brittle. It has no room for the beautiful, unpredictable, and ever-evolving nature of a human life. It treats your existence as a linear mission to be completed, rather than a living, breathing journey to be experienced. It is a map that leads to a single city, ignoring the vast, rich, and beautiful landscape that lies between here and there. The inner conflict that arises from this model is a war between the ego's demand for certainty and the soul's need for growth. The ego wants the final answer. It wants the full map, from start to finish, laid out and guaranteed. It is terrified of the unknown, and it believes that a clearly defined purpose is a shield against the chaos of life. This desperate need for a final answer is what keeps us frozen. We stand at a crossroads, unwilling to take a single step in any direction, because we are not 100% certain it is the right path that leads to our true destination. We spend our lives analyzing the map, searching for a guarantee that does not exist. The soul, however, operates on a different principle. It operates on trust. It understands that a life of meaning is not about arriving at a predetermined place, but about the quality of the journey itself. It asks for you to have faith not in a destination, but in a direction. The conflict is between the paralyzing demand for a final answer and the liberating trust in the next right step. It is the choice to stop trying to control the end of the story and to instead focus all your energy on writing one true and beautiful sentence right now. This is the core realization that will release you from the burden of the great question. Purpose is not a destination you arrive at. It is a direction you choose to face. It is not a noun to be found, it is a verb to be lived. Purpose is the quality of intention, presence, and care that you bring to the steps you are taking right now. It is the way you walk, not the place you are going. To understand this, let us discard the old map and embrace a new one. Imagine you are standing at the edge of a vast, unexplored continent. You are given a map, but it is a magical map. It is almost entirely blank. The only thing visible is a small illuminated circle showing where you are currently standing, and a faint, glowing path that stretches for only a few feet in front of you. The rest of an entire world is hidden in the blankness. There is no X that marks the spot. There is no final destination shown. Your only clue is the direction that the short, illuminated path is pointing. You cannot see the mountain you will climb in a year. You cannot see the river you will cross in a decade. You have a choice. You can remain frozen at the edge, staring at the vast, intimidating blankness of the map, refusing to move until you know the final outcome. Or you can take a deep breath, trust the direction, and take one step onto the glowing path. And as you do, a miracle occurs. The map unfurls. As your foot lands, the next few feet of the path ahead of you illuminate, revealing a little more of the way. This is the nature of a true life's purpose. It is a map that unfolds before you, but only in response to your own movement. You must walk to see the way. With this new understanding, we must ask a new set of questions. You must discard the heavy, unanswerable question, what is my one true purpose in life? It is a question designed to paralyze you. Instead, you will ask smaller, more present, and infinitely more powerful questions. When you wake up in the morning, ask, what is my purpose today? Perhaps the answer is simply to be a little more patient, a little more present. When you are faced with a task, whether it is washing the dishes, writing a report, or having a difficult conversation, ask, how can I bring purpose to this? How can I infuse this simple act with a quality of care, of excellence, of full attention? This shifts purpose from a distant, monumental thing into a practice that is available in every single moment. Instead of trying to find the one job that will be your purpose, ask, what kind of work makes me feel alive and engaged right now? And follow that feeling. Instead of searching for the one grand cause that will define your existence, ask, what is one small act of service or creation I can perform today? This is how you walk the unfolding path. You bring all of your presence, all of your skill, all of the integrity you have cultivated to the next illuminated step. And you trust that if you make that step a purposeful one, and the one after that, and the one after that, you will, by definition, be living a purposeful life. The great, frantic search is over. You can lay down the heavy crown of needing to have it all figured out. You are not required to know the end of the story. You are only required to participate, fully and with intention, in the chapter you are in right now. Look away from the blank, distant edges of the map. That is the realm of anxiety and speculation. Bring your gaze down to where you are. The ground beneath your feet is solid. The next step is illuminated. Your purpose is simply to take it. Take it with all the strength, courage, and presence you can muster. That is your purpose today, and it is more than enough. The map is unfolding. Walk on. You have walked the path inward. You have journeyed through the landscapes of your own mind, your own history, your own solitude. You have sharpened your axe and chosen a direction for your unfolding map. The path has been, until now, a largely solitary one. But it does not end in solitude. The path inevitably leads you back to the world, back to others. For the ultimate expression of our inner work is not found in how we are when we are alone, but in how we are together. All the work of finding your center, of growing your roots, of becoming a sovereign in your own kingdom, was not a retreat from humanity. It was the necessary preparation to re-engage with it in a new, more profound, and more beautiful way. It was the work of learning to create true connection. For most of our lives, we operate from a broken blueprint of what connection is. The old blueprint is a model of transaction, a contract of mutual neediness. It is the story of two broken halves, each believing the other holds the missing pieces required to make them whole. We enter into relationships not as sovereign beings, but as beggars with empty cups. We are seeking someone to pour into us what we have failed to cultivate for ourselves, a sense of worth, a feeling of happiness, a distraction from our own inner emptiness. We make the other person the source of our well-being, a role they can never successfully fill. This places an impossible burden on them, and it keeps us in a state of perpetual, anxious dependency. In this old model, love is often a mask for a host of other things: a fear of being alone, a desire for validation, a need for a project, a craving for security. We do not see the other person clearly. We see a projection of our own needs. We see a savior, a parent, a healer, an entertainer. We are not in relationship with them. We are in relationship with the role we need them to play. This is the root of so much suffering. It is the soil in which jealousy, control, resentment, and codependency grow. It is a house of cards built on the unstable foundation of mutual lack. When one person inevitably fails to meet the other's unspoken needs, the entire fragile structure comes crashing down. The inner conflict you now face is the choice to abandon this old, broken blueprint and to build from a new one. It is the conflict between the familiar habit of the empty cup and the new, challenging practice of the full well. When you operate from the empty cup, your primary orientation toward others is, what can I get? You are assessing them for their potential to fill your void. When you begin to operate from the full well, a profound shift occurs. Having done the work of sitting in your own solitude, of facing your own truths, of generating your own sense of purpose, you have discovered a source of water within yourself. You are no longer dying of thirst, and so your orientation toward others changes from what can I get to what can I share. You are no longer seeking a partner to complete you. You are a complete person, seeking another complete person to share your journey with. This is the difference between a parasitic relationship and a synergistic one. It is the difference between two beggars clutching at a crust of bread and two kings sharing a feast. This leads us to the core message, the foundational principle of this new architecture of connection. You can only connect as deeply with another human being as you have connected with yourself. The depth and quality of your external relationships will always be a direct mirror of the depth and quality of your internal relationship. If you are a stranger to yourself, you will seek distraction in others. If you are at war with yourself, you will seek peace in others. If you have not learned to love and approve of yourself, you will be a bottomless pit of need for the love and approval of others. But if you have done the work of turning inward, if you have befriended yourself, if you have learned to generate your own sense of worth and peace from within, then you bring a transformed self to every interaction. Imagine two exquisite, finely crafted guitars standing in a quiet room. If one is tuned to the key of C and the other is tuned to F sharp, they are simply two separate objects. They may be beautiful, but they exist in different worlds. There is no harmony between them. Now, imagine both guitars are perfectly tuned to the exact same resonant frequency, the same deep, true note. A remarkable phenomenon occurs. If you pluck the A string on one guitar, the A string on the other guitar, across the room, will begin to vibrate silently in sympathy. It will hum with a shared energy without ever being touched. This is resonance. This is the nature of true connection. It is not two people clinging to each other to fix their brokenness. It is two sovereign individuals, each of whom has done the difficult work of tuning their own instrument to the clear note of their own authentic truth. And when they come into each other's presence, they recognize that same note in the other. There is a spontaneous, effortless harmony, a resonance. They do not need to take anything from each other. Their presence together simply amplifies the truth and beauty that each already holds within themselves. How do we cultivate this ability to create resonance? We must learn the practice of deep listening. In most conversations, we are not truly listening. We are waiting for our turn to speak. We are hearing the other person's words, but our mind is busy formulating our rebuttal, our anecdote, our piece of advice. We are listening to respond, not to understand. Deep listening is a different art altogether. It is the practice of offering another person the total, undivided, and non-judgmental gift of your presence. When they speak, you become the space. You quiet your own mind, your own stories, your own agenda, and you simply receive them. You listen not just to their words, but to the silence between the words. You listen to the emotion in their voice. You listen with your body, with your heart. You are not there to fix them, to save them, or to impress them. You are simply there to hear them, to witness them, to let them know that they are being fully seen. This quality of attention is one of the most profound gifts one human being can offer another. It is in this sacred space of deep listening that the other person feels safe enough to sound their own true note, creating the possibility for resonance. When you learn to connect in this way, the entire nature of your relationships transforms. Neediness is replaced by generosity. Fear of loss is replaced by mutual appreciation. Love ceases to be about possession and becomes about freedom. You want what is best for the other person, even if it does not include you, because your own wholeness is no longer dependent on them. You have become your own safe harbor. You have become your own source of light. And from this place of profound inner security and abundance, you can finally meet another, not as a hungry ghost, but as a gracious host. Not as a prisoner seeking an escape, but as a sovereign seeking an equal. You can love freely because you no longer need anything in return. You have walked a long and difficult path to arrive here. You have learned to sit in silence, to embrace solitude, to sharpen your axe, to walk your own unfolding path. You have built an inner architecture of discipline and connected with others from a place of wholeness. A sense of momentum has been generated, but now we must address the most critical question of endurance. How do you keep the fire burning? The initial excitement of any new path is a powerful fuel, but it is a fuel that burns quickly. Life will inevitably test you. There will be days of doubt, periods of failure, long stretches of effort with no visible reward. What will sustain you then? We must now turn our attention from the act of starting the fire to the art of tending it, so that it may grow from a fragile flicker into a steady, unquenchable flame. We have been taught to fuel our motivation from the outside world. We are like travelers in the cold, constantly searching for external sources of heat. We huddle around the small, temporary fires of praise and approval. When someone commends our work, we feel a surge of warmth and energy. the fire burns brightly. But when that praise is withheld, or worse, replaced with criticism, the fire dies instantly, leaving us colder and more vulnerable than before. We fuel ourselves with the fire of results. When we see progress, the numbers on the scale go down, the numbers in the bank account go up, we are motivated. But when we hit the inevitable plateau, when our efforts no longer produce immediate, visible returns, the fuel line is cut. The fire sputters and dies, and we are left stranded in a state of discouragement. We fuel ourselves with the volatile, high-octane fuel of novelty, chasing the thrill of the next new project, the next new relationship, the next new idea, only to find the thrill fades and we are left, once again, in the cold, searching for another fix. To live this way is to be in a constant state of energetic dependency. It is to be a beggar for heat. It is to give the world, with all its fickle and unpredictable weather, complete control over your inner climate. This is a path to burnout and disillusionment. It is a life lived on a roller coaster of exhilarating highs and crushing lows, entirely at the mercy of external events. The inner conflict you must resolve is the choice between two different kinds of fire. The first is the bonfire. The second is the furnace. The bonfire is the fire of external motivation. It is spectacular. It leaps and dances, it roars and crackles, it throws off a brilliant light and an intense heat. It can draw a large crowd, all eager to warm their hands by its impressive display. But the bonfire is insatiable. It greedily consumes fwelogs of praise, branches of positive results, kindling of novelty. To keep it burning, you must be constantly running, gathering more wood from the outside world. The moment you stop feeding it, its magnificent display collapses into a pile of cold black ash. The furnace is the fire of internal alignment. It is not spectacular. It is enclosed, hidden deep within the structure of your being. Its glow is not seen by the crowds, but its heat is constant, steady, and reliable. The great magic of the furnace is that it is self-stoking. It does not require you to constantly feed it with wood from the outside. It has its own source of fuel, a source that can never be taken from you. The great choice is this. Will you continue to exhaust yourself by building temporary, spectacular bonfires to impress a passing crowd? Or will you commit to the quiet, difficult, and lifelong work of building the steady, internal furnace? Here is the secret to that furnace, the core message of enduring power. Your inner fire is not fueled by what the world gives to you. It is fueled by your alignment with your deepest self. Applause does not feed it. Results do not feed it. Praise does not feed it. Integrity feeds it. Alignment feeds it. Purposeful action feeds it. This is a radical shift in your understanding of energy. You stop being a consumer of motivation and you become a generator of it. How does this internal furnace work? Every choice you make is either an act of alignment or an act of misalignment. When you choose an action that is in harmony with your values, with the person you intend to be, you are placing a piece of high-grade, slow-burning coal into your own furnace. When you choose the harder right over the easier wrong, even when no one is watching, you are strengthening the walls of the furnace, making it more efficient. When you keep a promise to yourself, you are cleaning the flue, allowing the energy to flow more cleanly. When you dedicate yourself to your craft, to sharpening your axe, you are not spending energy. You are generating a pure, steady heat. This fire warms you from the inside out. It is not dependent on the weather. If the world offers praise, it is pleasant, like a sunny day, but you do not need it for warmth. If the world offers criticism, it is like a cold wind, but it cannot penetrate the walls of the furnace and extinguish the flame. Your sense of worth and your drive to continue are no longer tied to the unpredictable reactions of the world. They are anchored in the bedrock of your own character, in the daily practice of living in alignment with your own truth. To make this process conscious, To become a master tender of your own flame, you must practice the art of self-validation. We are trained to look to others for validation, but the sovereign being learns to validate themselves. Here is a simple, powerful practice. At the end of each day, take out your journal. Take a moment of quiet reflection and answer this one question. What is one thing I did today, no matter how small, that was in true alignment with the person I am committed to becoming? This is not a list of achievements. This is not a list of goals you accomplished. This is a log of your integrity. Perhaps the answer is, I was honest when a small lie would have been easier. Or, I listened deeply to someone without interrupting. Or, I kept my 2-minute promise to myself and did my one stretch. Or, I felt anger rising and I chose to breathe instead of reacting. These small, invisible victories are the true fuel of the inner fire. By writing them down, you are consciously acknowledging them. You are telling your own subconscious mind, this is what matters. This is what we value here. You are learning to source your self-esteem from your own actions, not from the opinions of others. You are methodically, patiently, learning how to stoke your own furnace. The search for motivation is over. You stop looking for external sources of heat because you have finally understood that you are the source, you are the fire. Let the world be as it is. Let people praise or criticize. Let the results come in their own time. It no longer holds the same power over you. Your drive is not contingent on circumstance. It is generated from character, deep within you, protected from the wind and the rain. The furnace of your own integrity burns with a quiet, steady, and unquenchable flame. And with this fire, you carry your own warmth and your own light wherever you go. We have come to the end of a long road. You have walked through the shadows of your past and the anxieties of your future. You have learned to be present, to accept reality, to be honest with your own heart. You have built a new architecture of habit, sharpened the axe of your skill, and found a new compass for your purpose. You have tended the inner fire and learned to stand like a deeply rooted tree in the winds of the world. You have built a new self, a stronger self, a wiser self, a more resilient self. And now, we arrive at the final, most subtle, and most liberating work of all. We must learn to let that self go. For all this time, we have been engaged in a great act of construction. We have been forging a new identity, a new character, from the raw material of our suffering and our intention. And we have succeeded. We can look in the mirror now and see a person we respect, a person of integrity and strength. We have traded a prison of mud for a palace of gold. But a palace, no matter how beautiful, is still a prison if you are not free to leave it. The final and most seductive attachment is the attachment to the very self you have worked so hard to create. It is the spiritual ego. It is the part of you that is now proud of your discipline, that takes satisfaction in your mindfulness, that feels a subtle superiority in your resilience. It is the last and most golden of all chains. Having become somebody, the final step is to be willing to become nobody, and in that nobodiness, to discover that you are everything. The inner conflict at this ultimate stage is between the finished statue and the living river. The ego, even the new, improved ego, desires to arrive at a final state of perfection. It wants to complete the statue of the ideal me, place it upon a pedestal, and declare the work finished. I have arrived, it wants to say. I am now this strong, wise, compassionate being. It wants to crystallize its achievement into a solid, definable, and permanent identity. It craves the security of a finished product. But the truth of your nature is not static. It is not a statue. You are a living, breathing, flowing process. You are a river, not a monument. The river's nature is to be in constant, dynamic flux. It is never the same from one moment to the next. To try and hold on to a fixed identity, even a good identity, is to try and freeze the river. It is to resist the very nature of life itself. The ultimate freedom is not found in perfecting a static self, but in but in surrendering to the beautiful, unpredictable, and ceaseless flow of your own becoming. The conflict is between the ego's desire to be a thing and the soul's deep, quiet truth that it is a process. This brings us to the final, most expansive understanding. This is the key that unlocks the golden cage. You are not the strong person you have become. You are not the disciplined person, the mindful person, the loving person. You are the space in which all of those qualities were allowed to arise. You are not the beautiful sculpture. You are the silent, aware, and empty space of the studio that allowed the sculpture to be formed. You are the open sky. We have used this metaphor before, but now we must inhabit it completely. You have learned that you are not the weather of your life, not the dark clouds of your thoughts, not the violent storms of your emotions. Now you must see that you are not even the strong, resilient person who is weathering the storm. That too, in its own way, is just a formation passing through the vastness of your being. Your true nature, your deepest identity, is the sky itself. It is the limitless, silent, and benevolent awareness that holds everything. It holds the sun and the moon. It holds the storm and the calm. It holds the birth of galaxies and the fading of stars. It is not affected by any of it. It is not improved by the beautiful sunset, nor is it damaged by the raging hurricane. It is the infinite container, and it is completely, utterly, and profoundly at peace. To realize this is to come home. The practice for this stage of the journey is one of undoing. It is a meditation that gently shifts your attention from the objects in consciousness to consciousness itself. Find your quiet space. Sit and close your eyes. You have practiced watching your thoughts come and go. Now, for a moment, shift your attention to the silent gaps between your thoughts. Rest in that silence. Notice that it is always there, underneath the noise. You have practiced listening to the sounds around you. Now, shift your attention to the vast, quiet space of silence from which all sounds emerge and into which they all dissolve. Feel the quality of that silence. Now, bring your attention to the act of attention itself. Notice the awareness that is aware of these words. The awareness that feels the sensation of your body in the chair. The awareness that sees the images behind your closed eyelids. Do not try to grasp this awareness. You cannot, for it is the very thing that is doing the grasping. Simply rest in it. Relax into it. Notice its qualities. Is it anxious? Is it striving? Or is it calm, open, and effortlessly present? You will discover that this background awareness, this sky of your being, is inherently peaceful. It is already whole. It needs nothing. It is not on a journey. It has already arrived. It is your true home. This is the great, final letting go. You release the need to be anyone special. You release the need to have it all figured out. You release the attachment to even your most hard-won virtues. The house of your new self is built. The furnace of your inner fire is burning brightly. The roots of your tree are deep in the earth. And now, because you are so secure, so strong, so self-reliant, you can finally open all the doors and all the windows. You can let the winds of life blow through without any fear. You are no longer defending a fortress of identity. You are inhabiting an open sky. The search is over. The struggle to become someone is replaced by the joy of simply being. You are not a finished product. You are not a noun. You are a process. You are life itself, unfolding in grace and mystery. You are, at last, and in every possible way, completely and utterly free. We have traveled far together through the inner landscapes of silence and storm. We have stood before the mirror of truth, tended the fire of our own integrity, and learned to walk a path of our own choosing. We have come to the end of these words, but we are standing at the true beginning of the work. And as we part ways, I want to leave you with one final image, a guiding star for the journey ahead. In Japan, there is an ancient art form called kintsugi. When a precious piece of pottery is broken, it is not thrown away. It is not even repaired in a way that hides the damage. The artisans take the shattered pieces and meticulously glue them back together, and then they trace the lines of the cracks with lacquer mixed with powdered gold. The result is a piece of pottery that is not only functional again, but is now more beautiful, more precious, and more unique than it was before it was broken. The scars are not a source of shame. They are the object's history, illuminated in gold for all to see. They are the source of its new and greater beauty. You are that piece of pottery. Your heartbreaks, your failures, your moments of crisis, these are the cracks. For so long, you have tried to hide them, to disguise them, to wish them away, seeing them as proof of your own flawed nature. But all the work we have done together has been the practice of kintsugi. The awareness you have cultivated is the lacquer. The compassion you have learned to show yourself is the gold dust. You have been tracing the lines of your own breaking, not to erase them, but to honor them. You have learned that these cracks are not where your life ends. They are the very places where the light enters. They are the fissures through which your own golden strength can finally shine through. Do not be ashamed of your scars. They are the proof of your resilience, the map of your strength, the beautiful golden seams that have made you who you are. This is not an ending. It is an awakening. The tools are now yours. The compass is in your hands. The inner sky is recognized as your true home. The journey from here is not about seeking more knowledge, but about the quiet, daily application of what you now know to be true. It is a path walked one conscious breath, one small, aligned action at a time. The work continues not in great, dramatic leaps, but in the steady, patient rhythm of each sunrise. And so, we leave it here. The great task was never to become someone new, to build a perfect, unbroken version of yourself. The work was always to come home, to return to the vast, silent, and unbreakable core of your own being, to finally and completely become yourself. The silence is waiting. Begin.